Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Site for Wight, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Saturday the 5th of March 2022. This week we have been rummaging through the cupboards and sorting out a lot of donated items that we have. We have cleaned them, tested them, checked them and make sure they're current. We've also spent a lot of time looking into new equipment and what is available. We always try to stay abreast of what equipment and aids are available for help with daily living. We have used this equipment to begin to set up our new low vision aid room at Millbrook House. On Wednesday this week, when the coffee morning was held, people gave their opinions on the new setup, and of course, as always, we will take these into account as we move things around at Millbrook House to make the best use of the space that we have. This week also, unfortunately, has seen a visit from the police. It has come to our attention that people are getting into the grounds of Millbrook House overnight, and therefore we have been forced to install CCTV, which is being erected today on Saturday. The CCTV will detect motion at night and floodlights will come on so that the cameras can record anybody who does enter the grounds. Finally, this week we sent out the February 2022 newsletter. As always, the newsletter is produced in several formats: large print, braille, audio, on Alexa, on USB, and through the Talking News. If you do not receive a copy of the newsletter and would like to, please do not hesitate to call the office on 522205. We are here to help. Thank you, Lisa, CEO, Site for Wight.
This is Chris, reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. New scam alerts issued for the Isle of Wight. Several new scam warnings have been issued for the Isle of Wight this Thursday. Door-to-door roofers. There are reports of doorstep traders being prevalent on the island and offering roofing work in response to the recent storms. These rogue traders will take the opportunity to take advantage of vulnerable residents at a time when they are worried about the safety of their property, and it might be difficult to engage with a reputable trader due to high demand. No matter how desperate you might be, please do not engage with anyone who knocks on your door and offers to do work for you. They will overcharge, increase their price during the job, generally not be qualified, and do a very poor job. Flyers through the door. Please be wary of any flyers that may come through your door, although this gives an air of professional organisation. Anyone can get a flyer printed quite cheaply and easily, and these traders use this to make them seem genuine and local. If you need work done, follow recommendations from friends and family, or use a trader on the Trader Approval Scheme. Isle of Wight Council advertising. Scammers appear to be using the Isle of Wight Council to trick businesses into advertising in newsletters. This is a common scam to target businesses where they will offer you advertising space in a non-existent leaflet or newsletter. Local traders have been harassed for future payments and intimidated into paying. Please don't engage with anyone approaching you over the phone like this. Do your due diligence and make sure that you don't get scammed. HMRC scam. The HMRC scam appears to be back. An automated voice telling you that you have unpaid taxes and threatening action if you don't comply. The HMRC will never contact you in this way, so just hang up. Cold call advice. If you are in receipt of large numbers of scam calls, look into the option of call blocking. This can be done through some call providers for free, like Sky, TalkTalk and White Fibre all offer this service. Otherwise, Call blocking phones can be purchased for a reasonable price and can reduce scam calls by up to 98%.
This is an article from Isle of Wight Radio, read by Terry. Isle of Wight charity Mad Aid supporting Ukrainian refugees in Moldova. Mad Aid, the Isle of Wight charity that sends medical aid into Moldova, has opened its Phoenix complex in northern Moldova to refugee mothers and children from Ukraine. Founder Victoria Dunford said, "For the first 2 days of the conflict in Ukraine, we concentrated on accommodating as many refugees as possible at our centre in Moldova. We have created accommodation at Phoenix and locally for 70 mothers and children. We have nurses and counsellors on site trained at our centre by UK specialists, and their contribution will be vital now. As of Sunday afternoon, the official number of refugees entering the country was more than 21,000, mostly mothers with children. Numbers are increasing daily, and queues at the borders are 2 kilometres long." Victoria added that the long-term plan is to set up a distribution hub at our Phoenix complex, www.PHOENIMD.org, for all refugees entering the north of Moldova, to help educate their children and offer counselling and psychological intervention for their fear and trauma, to identify more accommodation and set up conditions for them to live in, to create a volunteer programme so that the refugees can help others themselves. People can help Mad Aid's Ukraine emergency response by donating medical supplies that will transit from UK to Ukraine via the Moldova land border. These need to be 6 months in date. Donating funds via the Facebook fundraiser https://www.facebook.com/donate/488118066241314/. Mad Aid was founded in 2012 to collect unwanted medical equipment from St Mary's Hospital, to transport it to poorly equipped hospitals in Moldova, where it has considerably improved the experience of inpatients. Reusing unwanted equipment from St Mary's and other care facilities helps keep it out of landfill or expensive storage. In its first 10 years of operation, Mad Aid has developed and supports a complex in Riscani in northern Moldova, comprising a day centre for disabled children, an early intervention centre for disabled children and their parents, a high-quality elder care home, and, most recently, a warm water hydrotherapy and swimming pool that provides a much-needed resource for the local community.
This is Brian reading an item from Isle of Wight Radio. Consultation on significant rise in Isle of Wight taxi fares. Islanders will be consulted ahead of a significant rise in taxi fees. The Isle of Wight Council's licensing committee on Monday voted overwhelmingly in favour of a hike in taxi fees, which would see a 2-mile journey charged on the lowest tariff increased by £1.10. It follows consultation with the island's taxi trade, who supported a fee increase due to rising running fuel, service charges and insurance. Chairman of the committee, Councillor Darrell Pitcher, said there were legitimate reasons to increase the fees, and this was just the beginning of a complicated process. Not all members were in favour, with Councillor Gary Peace saying the taxi charges on the island were already ridiculously high. He suggested, much like other businesses during the COVID pandemic, including his own, drivers absorbed the added costs. If prices did have to rise, Councillor Peace said, they should be in line with inflation, which would be a much simpler way of determining an increase and would probably have more support from the public. Concerns had previously been raised by officers that it would be unlikely the public would support the significant increase proposed. Following the approval, a minimum 14-day consultation will start once a public notice is published in local newspapers and on the council's website. If no objections are lodged, the new fees will begin on May the 1st. However, if valid objections are submitted, the start date will be pushed back and the issue could come back before the licensing committee. What are the changes? The initial flag drop or higher fee, also covering the first half a mile of the journey, increases by 50p. Each quarter mile after the flag drop increases between 10p and 50p depending on the tariff. Waiting time during a trip increases between 20p and 70p a minute. Sundays would be charged at the same rate as bank and public holidays, becoming more expensive, moving into Tariff 2. The cost for transporting animals doubles from 50p to £1 per animal. Soiling charge increases to £100 from £70. According to the draft table of fees, tariff hours are also set to change pending approval, meaning travel will cost more from 8 p.m. through to 6 a.m. The higher tariff used to start at 10 p.m. The fares set are the maximum amount drivers can charge, so some companies could charge less.
This is Alison reading an article from On the Wight entitled Sellout Sessions and Long Snaking Queues. Isle of Wight Story Festival hailed a great success. The third annual Isle of Wight Story Festival saw sellout shows and huge queues as families lined up patiently to have books signed by authors. The queue crossed the cafe at Key Arts, went out through the fire doors and round the block, as families lined up patiently at last week's Isle of Wight Story Festival to have their copies of The Gruffalo and The Smeds and the Smoos signed by their illustrator Axel Scheffler. Scheffler was the headliner at the third annual Isle of Wight Story Festival, and his packed session in the Anthony Minghella Theatre included readings of some of his most famous books, inspirational drawings, and questions from an enthusiastic audience. It was one of many sell-out sessions at this year's event, which attracted hundreds of families from across the island and some from further afield. One of the organisers, Elspeth Giddins, said, "It was wonderful to be able to run a live festival again this year after having to do everything online in 2021. I think everyone was just pleased to be able to get out and see authors and illustrators face to face again and be involved in hands-on drama and craft workshops." Other highlights at this year's festival included an inspirational session from the author-illustrator of the Amelia Fang series of books, Laura Ellen Anderson, the hilarious author-illustrator double act of Sarah McIntyre and Philip Reeve, and the poignant and funny production of Dustbin Doris by Rhubarb Theatre. There were lots of sessions from well-known island-based authors, illustrators, performers and naturalists too, including Isle of Wight Story Festival favourite Kieran Larwood, Neil Layton, Jules Mariner, Debbie Webb, Peter Rainford, Sue Bailey, Holly Medland, Adam Gattrell, Lucia Parra, Dave Fairlam and Kathy Grogan. Elspeth Giddins said, "It was wonderful to see the festival bringing so much joy to so many children and families. This year's festival was a real team effort. Thanks to our dedicated committee, our lovely volunteers, our sponsors including Red Funnel and Newport and Carysbrook Community Council, Medina Books for selling hundreds of books across the 2 days, Key Arts for being such generous hosts and looking after us so well, all our wonderful authors and performers, and of course the hundreds of families who came along and made the event such a success. For more information, visit the website."
This is Chris reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Ryde Loo demolition approval given with interchange scheme in sight. A block of toilets in Ryde will now face the wrecking ball after demolition approval was given. Concerns remained, however, that Ryde Esplanade would be blighted by temporary toilets for years if deadlines were not met. As part of the wider Ryde interchange scheme, designed to increase transport connectivity, the public toilet block and cafe need to be demolished to make way for a new access road to the pier. The building's fate was sealed last Tuesday at the Isle of Wight Council's Planning Committee. Speaking at the meeting as a local ward councillor, Phil Jordan confirmed toilet provision would be provided in the Esplanade train station the Isle of Wight Council was designing on behalf of South Western Railway. Without the approval to demolish the toilets, Councillor Jordan told the committee, it would not only risk the island's £10 million funding from the Department of Transport, DFT, but the whole £56 million transport scheme happening across Portsmouth and Hampshire too. Councillors shared concerns, however, about whether the station redevelopment would ever materialise and leave temporary toilets permanently in Western Gardens after they had agreed to knock down the toilets. Plans for Ryde Esplanade Station, including the replacement toilets and cafe, have yet to be unveiled to the public, despite other aspects of the project progressing. Councillor Matt Price said, "We are looking to take away public amenity space and facilities, putting temporary toilets in for an indefinite time. No one really wants to vote for knocking down a public toilet without knowing when the other one will be built." Councillor Jeff Brodie said it seemed like lunacy to knock the toilets down, putting in the temporary replacement without a guarantee of a permanent alternative provision. Answering concerns as Cabinet Member for Infrastructure and Transport, Councillor Jordan confirmed again the toilets were included in the station and stressed the entire project had to be completed by March 2023, so the temporary provision would not be there for years. Councillor Price said he applauded Councillor Jordan's enthusiasm over the construction timeframe, but could not see how it would be possible for the toilets to be opened in March next year. Demolition of the block was approved with 9 votes in favour, but 1, Councillor Vanessa Churchman, against.
This is an article from On the Wight, read by Terry. Planning Committee approve 16 home development at Lee Farm, and this is apparently an updated article. There'll be no affordable housing, but the landowner is giving over land for the Greenway cycle route and paying for construction costs of just under 2 kilometres of the route. A green light was given to the partial conversion of a former dairy farm in Wellow at Tuesday's Planning Committee meeting. The development of Lee Farm on Wellow's main road into 16 homes would also provide a chunk of land towards the much talked about cycle path from Newport to the West Wight, known as the Greenway. The Isle of Wight Council's Planning Committee determined the application submitted by Yarmouth Mayor Steve Cowley at its meeting on Tuesday. Planning officers have recommended the plan be approved subject to a legal agreement and 19 various conditions. While no statutory bodies objected, 36 residents railed against the plans, as well as Isle of Wight Conservative MP Bob Seeley. Mr. Seeley highlighted the lack of affordable properties on the site, saying it was of no benefit to the West Wight and its young people, while also concreting over the countryside. According to council policy, housing developments on the island of 10 or more houses should either provide properties as affordable or financially contribute to affordable housing schemes elsewhere. However, officers say there is a unique set of circumstances that relate to this application, as it is able to provide a large section of the Greenway while also delivering rural housing using brownfield land. The land will be given to the council to use in the Greenway, and construction costs of the 1.75 kilometre part of the route will also be met by the landowner. The affordable housing contribution, therefore, officers say, has been worked out at £27,120. The current appearance of the site includes a complex of existing large bands. Officers say are in a state of disrepair. I suspect that might mean barns. Officers acknowledge the development would result in a greater amount of built form in the area, but it would remain contained in the existing belt of hedgerows and trees that surround the site. Although the development land is partially made up of farmland, the site, which sits on the edge of Wellow and Thorley, is technically brownfield after an appeal was upheld by the Planning Inspectorate. Local councillor Peter Spink spoke in objection to the plans, but the Planning Committee voted 8 in favour, none against and 2 abstentions.
This is Alison, reading an article from the Island Echo entitled Cowes Men's Shed to Organise First Post-Pandemic Get-Together. Cowes Men's Shed is organising a buffet at their base on Somerton Industrial Park, the first get-together since the pandemic began. The buffet will be open from 1100 hours to 1400 hours on Thursday the 10th of March. Anyone wishing to attend should make a minimum donation of £1 for refreshments. Adam from Cowes Men's Shed says, "It's been far too long since we have been able to arrange a get-together for our members and welcome faces old and new. Do come along and enjoy some time with us." Cowes Men's Shed is open to everyone aged 18 and over, and not just men. 25% of its members are women. It offers a carpentry workshop, craft room, IT area, and gardens with polytunnels, raised beds, seating areas, and even red squirrels. Some sheds locally exclude women and men aged younger than 55, but Cowes Men's Shed is open to all. The project leader is available to lend a hand, give guidance when requested, and to show members how to use equipment unfamiliar to them. Besides woodwork and pottering about in the gardens, it has also played host to people quilling, knitting, model making, singing, and numerous craft activities. Cowes Men's Shed is located at 25-26 Somerton Industrial Park, Cowes, P031 8PA. Anyone interested in attending the buffet should call Adam on 01983 209 734 for further information, or email meninshedscows@gmail.com.
This is Brian reading an item from Isle of Wight Radio. Gruffalo illustrator surprises red funnel passengers with impromptu book signing. Award-winning illustrator of the Gruffalo storybook series, Axel Scheffler, was spotted on board Red Funnel's Red Jets service last weekend, travelling to the island for the annual Isle of Wight Story Festival. Axel delighted passengers with a surprise book signing, handing out free copies of the best-selling children's book series to families on board. The captain confirmed that the Gruffalo didn't get up to any mischief during the sailing and stayed firmly within the pages of the storybook for everyone to enjoy. Axel Scheffler previously revealed the Isle of Wight was the inspiration behind storybook The Highway Rat in an exclusive interview with Isle of Wight Radio.
This is Chris, reading an article from the Island Echo. Investigations continue into suspected arson attack on the bungalow in Shanklin. Scenes of crime specialists and fire investigators have arrived at Westlake Avenue in Shanklin as police continue to probe the cause of Saturday's bungalow blaze, which is suspected to have an arson attack. Police have been keeping a scene guard outside the address throughout the weekend, ahead of the arrival of mainland-based investigators. As previously reported by Island Echo, Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service was alerted to the incident at just before 4:15 a.m. on Saturday, but the property was already well alight when firefighters arrived. A photograph was taken just as fire crews arrived. It showed how well developed the fire had become and appears to show that the blaze potentially started to the rear. One local has told Island Echo that they were awoken by the sound of crackling and helped evacuate nearby residents. 4 breathing apparatus, 4 hose reel jets and 2 main jets were used to contain and extinguish the blaze, which has completely destroyed the detached bungalow. Hampshire Constabulary says that it is treating the incident as suspicious. One line of investigation will no doubt be the property's connection with local criminal Ben Entwistle. Investigators will be looking to identify the source of the fire and whether an accelerant was used. Anyone who saw anything suspicious in the area at the time is asked to call police on 101, quoting 442 200 79151.
This is an article from the Island Echo, read by Terry. Scores of sausage dogs enjoy Dashan's Cafe at Newport Bakery. 35 sausage dogs attended the first ever Dashan's Cafe at the Newport branch of Richmond's Bakery on Saturday the 26th of February. Richmond's Bakery owner, Imi Borden, owns a Dachshund herself and named the cafe after her pet sausage dog Richmond. When asked where she had got the idea for a Dachshund cafe from, Imi said, "I had been to one in Southampton before. I organised a Dachshund cafe in my bakery in Cowes and then decided to hold a further event in our Newport branch. I think there must be hundreds of Dachshunds on the island. I've been on a walk with about 500 sausage dogs." When asked about the attraction of owning a Dachshund, Imi told Island Echo, "Dachshunds are humans' best friends. They are loving and affectionate. They are demanding but chilled. Sausage dogs get on very well with their own breed. We haven't had any accidents or fights at the cafe." Does Imi have any plans for further dog cafes? "I hope to make dog cafes a regular event with different breeds. In future, I would love to organise cafes featuring French bulldogs, pugs and cockapoos."
This is Alison reading an article from the Island Echo entitled "Landowner says SGN has obliterated her property whilst cutting down woodland." Protected woodland on the border of Cowes and Gurnard has been absolutely obliterated without the consent of one of its owners, it has emerged. As previously reported by Island Echo, trees and vegetation behind Prince's Esplanade and Egypt Esplanade were torn down, causing uproar in the community. Now, Cowes resident Rosalind Murray, who owns the land on Egypt Esplanade up to the "Welcome to Gurnard" sign, has spoken of the damage done to her ground, which adjoins that owned by Southern Gas Network, SGN. Speaking of the devastation on Monday, Ms Murray said she has had it confirmed by SGN they went well over the boundary, and the company is apologetic for what happened. The damage is already done, however, she said, as they have vandalised her property and absolutely obliterated the site. Ms Murray says she does not believe there is an issue with trespass, as had been claimed, because there was a public footpath running through her land, connecting the seafront to Battery Road. She says the land is for everyone and she liked people using it. The land has been in Ms Murray's family for 36 years, and during that time she and her father have protected the site and the species that live on it to prevent any building. She said no money in the world could compensate for what has happened, and now the land is in more danger of a landslip. The woodland has tree protection orders and is a site of importance for nature conservation. SGN is believed to have consented to work on its land. The utility company has been contacted for comment. Meanwhile, the Isle of Wight Council is investigating the works, with local councillor Paul Fuller confirming the work did not have permission. The council's tree officer told Councillor Fuller that an SGN estate manager said the site was cleared due to trespassing and the need to make it safe. Work has since stopped, but speaking on Friday, Councillor Fuller said SGN should know the status of its land and permission was needed to do the work. He said this demonstrated how irresponsible it was and that he is fully behind any enforcement action the council may take.
This is Brian reading an article from On the Wight. Sainsbury's reassures Isle of Wight customers over plans for in-store cafe. News on the Wight got in touch with Sainsbury's to find out whether the Newport branch would be affected. Customers of the Sainsbury's cafe in Newport branch can be reassured that the cafe is not one of those planned for closure. On Tuesday, Sainsbury's announced it would be closing 200 in-store cafes across the country. News on the Wight got in touch with the Sainsbury's HQ to check whether the Islands branch would be affected, and they confirmed it was not included in those planned for closure. The move to close 200 cafes came as the supermarket chain announced bold plans to transform its eat-in, takeaway and home delivery food and drink offer following the successful trial of a new food hall format called the Restaurant Hub at its Selly Oak store in Birmingham. Working with the Boparan Restaurant Group and Starbucks, Sainsbury's plans to transform the eat-in, takeaway and home-delivered hot food and drink offer in 250 of its supermarkets over the next 3 years.
This is Chris reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Ukraine crisis. Isle of Wight drop-off points where you can donate. Islanders looking to donate items to be sent to Ukraine now have various drop-off points available. Here is a list of available drop-off points across the island. Please let us know if you're aware of any we've missed. Note, where possible, times and contact numbers are included in the listings. Bembridge. Right at Home. Their number is 218318. They're at 7 the High Street, and they are available for donations between 8:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. Binstead. Binstead Stepping Stones Preschool. Their number is 562341. They're at the top of Hazelmere Avenue and are open for donations from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. East Cowes, MAD, Aid, based at 10 York Avenue. They are accepting donations between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and their number is 200648. You can also drop items in to Queensgate Foundation Primary School, and their number is 292872. Newport. JJ's Takeout in White Pit Lane. Their number is 717557. And you can either donate via area under takeaway or via a driver if having food delivered. True Vine Church, based at 26A the High Street, is asking for cardboard boxes and tape and is open from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Orchard House Care Home. Their number is 520022. They are at 189 Fairley Road, and it is now a drop-off point. Ride. Items can be dropped to Urban Saints on Oak Hill Road. Their number is 811118. Ride Elim Church. Their number is 615965. They're on Albert Street, and you can drop things in on Thursdays from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. or on Fridays from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Ride Veterans Hub. They are situated at 162 High Street. Ride Academy. Their number is 567331 and they are situated on Pell Lane. Ventnor. The Green Room. Their number is 857848. They are in Salisbury Gardens on Dudley Road, and they are open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. Fabulash. Their number is 716850, and they're on 21 Pier Street, Ventnor. Yarmouth. Yarmouth Sailing Club. Their number is 760270, is accepting donations between 2 and 4 p.m. from Wednesday, March the 2nd to Friday, March the 4th.
This is an article from the Island Echo, read by Terry. Old Village Inn told major improvement necessary following 1-star rating. Out-of-date food, risk of cross-contamination and numerous issues with paperwork has led to the Old Village Inn in Bembridge receiving a major improvement necessary rating from food hygiene inspectors. The Isle of Wight Council's environmental health team paid a visit to the High Street establishment owned and run by Bembridge Pubs Limited on the 20th of January this year and found the situation to be less than favourable, with the pub coming within touching distance of a 0 rating. During the inspection, it was found that out-of-date food was stored in the kitchen fridges, the oldest being a bag of ready-to-eat baby leaf salad that was 8 days past its use-by date of 12th of January. Inspectors noted that the system of stock rotation and control had failed in multiple cases and on repeated days, with stock control issues also raised at the last inspection in 2020, as well as in 2019, 2018, 2017 and 2016. It was also discovered that a vacuum packer was being used for ready-to-eat foods such as crayfish tails and coleslaw mix, but was then also being used for packing raw vegetables such as peeled potatoes and carrots. This is said to have brought about a risk of E. coli bacteria cross-contamination. Furthermore, vacuum packing bags were not protected from contamination and were covered in debris with cobwebs and a dead spider present. Inspectors noted that ready-to-eat and raw foods were stored in the same type and appearance containers. Some of these had the label or label residue on them from previous use. Additionally, there was a stack of these tubs in the dry store that was still visibly wet and were not able to air dry effectively, creating an environment that bacteria, if present, would be more likely to multiply in. Although inspectors did not find any evidence of pest problems, it was noted that the record sheet recorded historic mouse and rat activity as recently as December. Other issues found include the use of Dettol antibacterial surface spray to sanitize food contact surfaces and equipment is said to have been inadequate, as it does not meet officially recognized laboratory standards for effectiveness against a range of microorganisms. There was no wash hand basin available in the washing up area. Menu described the steak and ale pie as being made with Isle of Wight beef. However, no delivery notes, invoices or packaging were available to verify this. The ventilation ducting above the pizza preparation area had an open end and was positioned so that dust and debris may be deposited on or near the work surface. Areas of kitchen walls were noted to be constructed from bare wood, which is not suitable for use in a room where food is prepared, treated or processed. The location of the electric fly killer above the clean equipment racks may lead to the equipment being contaminated by dead flies. This has since been resolved. A white chopping board was heavily stained and scored, and a blue chopping board was scored and had an area of plastic that appeared to have melted. The metal chopping board holder was dusty and was beginning to show rust spots. They failed to provide an indication in the required manner that information about allergic ingredients used could be obtained by asking a member of staff. Despite the list of problems, inspectors did find the general standard of cleanliness was good. J. Chapman of the Old Village Inn has taken to social media to defend the 1-star rating. He said, "Our review visit on its star rating is mainly due to the shell of the non-essential preparation areas that we are now addressing. If it was a food dirt situation, we would not be able to operate. Personally, the system is outdated, as it needs one system for how clean you are and one for what needs doing. Unfortunately, they combine it, as in last year, 2020 and 21, we were 1-star as they had completed their visit with the kitchen closed in the pandemic. This didn't mean we were dirty or wrong. We will always promote a healthy, clean kitchen. What business wouldn't want that? And always open for visitation and inspection. And there's a note beneath that says food hygiene rating, scores on the doors, compliance with food hygiene and safety procedures 15, compliance with structural requirements 15, confidence in management and control procedures 20, total score 50, 1 rating.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Imelda reading and
Howard.
And before we start the second part of the county press here, this is the society news. The swimming group is back on Monday at its normal time of 1:30 p.m. until 2:30 p.m. at Medina Leisure Centre. For more information, please call the office. Coffee and chat is every Wednesday at Millbrook House, 10 a.m. to 11:30. It only costs £1 for a cake and the coffee. Please come along for a chat. Members of staff will be there for any assistance with equipment and information. And there's our Mix and Mingle group. It's held every Thursday at Millbrook House. Transport is available if required. The group meet between 10:30 and 2 for various activities. Please call the office for more details.
Our monthly book group is on Wednesday at Millbrook House starting at 2 p.m. We're always looking for new members to join, so if you enjoy reading, please call the office for more information. The group is free to join and the book can be either CD or memory stick form. I hope you've received your newsletter by now or listened on your Alexa. It's full of interesting items and exciting new activities for you and your members. Please call the office if you're interested in any of them for more details, or call 522205 and speak to Susan. Just a reminder, we're restarting the Members Forum and local fundraising committees. If you'd be interested in either group, please don't hesitate to call the office for more details.
And now we go over to the letters to the editor. And the first one that I have here is from Carol Bryan of Totland. I write with regards to a commentary on the council leader and golly dolls. I have met Councillor P.C. Wilcox and do not believe she is either racist or discriminatory, and I have no doubt that she never meant to cause offence by having them on private display. Like many who grew up in the 50s and the 60s, I had one of these dolls, as I'm sure did many of your readers. However, society has thankfully moved on, and I now recognise they represent an offensive stereotype. The issue here is not that the council leader had these dolls. It is she refused to explain or even admit that she had them. Her unwillingness to do this would suggest she knows that having such dolls is unacceptable these days. Many politicians get a bad name by being evasive in their responses, and for a local councillor who has sought to make a virtue of doing things, it is disappointing to see Councillor P.C. Wilcox fall so easily into the habit of giving a deliberately opaque response to the county press suggestions.
This is an anonymous letter regarding island housing. I'd like to remain anonymous, but I'm writing this letter to highlight the plight of ourselves and many other families across the island facing eviction from their homes. We're a family of 4 with 2 young children, one of whom has autism and ADHD. In this current housing crisis, families are having to be put in temporary accommodation or bed and breakfast. For an autistic child, this can be massively detrimental to their mental health and well-being, while for a child without disability, it can also be very upsetting. Surely in this day and age, this can't be happening. The amount of houses there are, empty hotels that can either be converted or demolished to make room for more affordable housing or council stock housing to reduce the mess this island is in. It's disgusting how families across the island are being treated. Isle of Wight Council needs to step up and stop leaving families in limbo to the day of their eviction, not knowing where they're going.
Why are Greens silent on this issue of racism? This is from Matthew Ambastini of Carisbrooke. Having stood for election to the Isle of Wight Council last May, and then Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council in August, the latter successfully, I have seen firsthand how the Green Party campaigns and what they stand for. In many respects, the Greens are to be applauded. They seek election on a clear platform based on their beliefs and values. One commitment is to anti-discrimination. It is therefore no surprise that at the height of the Black Lives Matter protests, the Isle of Wight Green Party tweeted that racism is woven into our cultural and socio-economic structures. Against this backdrop, it is staggeringly local Greens are so silent on the issue of the Isle of Wight Council leaders' racially offensive collection of golly dolls. 2 Green Party councillors are in coalition with Councillor P.C. Wilcox and clearly continue to support her as leader of the local authority. Their stance would perhaps be understandable if the council leader had acknowledged her lack of judgment and apologised for any offence caused. Instead, she told the county press that whatever the images you have been sent proposed to show, I can confirm that I have no such items in my home. This response is both misleading and disingenuous. The council leader knows exactly what these images show, but she tries to pretend otherwise. However, this matters not to the Isle of Wight Greens. It turns out that this self-declared anti-racist party sees remaining in coalition at County Hall as a greater priority than speaking out and challenging things of a racially offensive nature, even when staring them in the face. Let this be remembered next time the Greens decide to lecture the rest of us about what is right and wrong.
This letter is about the Harbour Trust actions and is from the trustees of Bembridge Harbour Trust. That's Chris Attrell, Jonathan Bacon, William Bland, Jeremy Gully, Phil Jordan, Norman Marshall and Sarah Smith. The £30,000 Mr Knocker refers to in his letter of 25th of the 2nd pales into insignificance when compared with the public cost saved by Bembridge Harbour Trust's efforts. One intervention alone prevented the Statutory Harbour Authority, that's the SHA, from potentially losing £1 million. BHT alerted the Isle of Wight Council to multiple mistakes over the years, and the Isle of Wight Council did indeed take legal and valuation advice. This resulted in a long list of corrections favouring the SHA and the environment. Our interventions did meet resistance from the directors of SHA, who also represented the competing priorities of the developer applicant, that's Bembridge Investments Limited. Things put right include 1. A secure lease of shoreside facilities rather than no security, an overage clause capturing profits over the predicted 20% if made for the SHA rather than no capture of any profits for the SHA. Ensuring the developer got the 20% profit, that's approximately £1.2 million, that planners recommended, rather than £2.2 million before the SHA saw any benefit. 4. Preventing money for the SHA, if made, being wrongly discounted by a non-existent corporation tax liability. 5. Dismissing a proposal to compel the SHA to buy facilities on artificially high terms, the SHA which said it could not afford a purchase. 6. An appropriate assessment on ecological impacts. The Isle of Wight Council failed to carry this out until pressed by Bembridge Harbour Trust. Correction by Bembridge Harbour Trust of misinformation on sewage discharges, without which additional nitrate pollution would have been discharged into the harbour without any mitigation. Looking at the cost to the public, we also highlight £560,000 of the public's money entrusted to the SHA to maintain the harbour. The 2020 accounts show this had instead been lent to other Thorpe family-owned companies. This is the subject of separate legal action as BHT try to ensure the SHA has the funds it needs for harbour maintenance. Our efforts contrast with a development proposal that predicts profits for a property company but no money for the SHA. While Mr Knocker might seek to paint a different picture, the facts are on the public planning file and Companies House website for all to see.
And Sheila Stevens comes back about the gollies. How sad that something like a golly has transformed 1 or 2 councillors into a braying pack against the leader. I am not acquainted personally with any of them, but surely by banging on about racism is damaging our young people's image of the world. When I was young, I had a much loved and cuddled doll, which in fact was a golly. He had lovely bright button eyes and a smart pair of trousers, and out of all my toys he was my favourite. The fact that he was black didn't come into it. My innocence didn't stretch to anything other than that he belonged to me and I cherished him. Would I now have to throw him in the dustbin? Can we be considered racist at the age of 5? How very sad. I agree wholeheartedly with Malcolm Mimes' comments on woke last week. Anyone can see through these ambitious councillors' bluster, but before we get too self-righteous, just stop and think about the innocence of children and a certain much-loved golly.
This letter is from John Nuttall in Ryde regarding a council meeting. What with the latest council meeting, I felt I had to comment on our elected members. What a shambles. Regarding Councillor Brodie, words fail me. Instead of talking about getting our council tax reduced, he was trying to bring up the racist issue against Laura P.C. Wilcox. He was told twice that a reply through the proper channels would be the best way to get a reply. As a member of the public, I'm amazed at the complete shambles at this meeting. Councillors should be involved in getting things done for the benefit of islanders, not throwing toys out of their pram. Regarding the public gallery, that is another issue. Some members of the public are not very well behaved. I hope the public remember these people at the next elections and vote accordingly.
And the last one of the letters to the editor is money laundering. Matt Weaver of Cowes. Would it be uncharitable to think that the purpose of creating a Minister for Brexit Opportunities is in part to formalise and expand Britain and London's status as being the money laundering capital of the world, while at the same time hopefully encouraging donations to the party in government from appreciative individuals availing themselves of the dubious service the City of London and our banking institutions offer? Many of those who manage to see beyond the government's popularist virtue signalling, illuminating 10 Downing Street in the yellow and blue colours of the Ukrainian flag, are wondering why there is only talk of freezing the assets from corrupt countries, oligarchs and regimes. Why aren't these monies and assets not being confiscated? Those who turn a blind eye to or actively facilitate the despicable vermin who contaminate our world are equally culpable for their crimes and, frankly, are not worthy to lead our country.
Now we move on to the memories section, and this week's is about Appledurcombe's old priory house, which has been found by a former islander. A historian's 39 long year hunt has led to the discovery of the old priory house at Appledurcombe more than 300 years after it was demolished. Chris Gardner, who lives in New Zealand, has discovered the location of the old priory house from the other side of the world while researching his book Mansion of Memories, The Definitive History of Appledurcombe House. Chris's hunt for the old priory house began in 1982 when he began working as a schoolboy guide at Appledurcombe alongside custodian Peter Wilkinson. Back then, Sir Robert Worsley's masterpiece of beautiful Baroque architecture, fused with Sir Richard Worsley's plain Palladian mansion, was a roofless ruin. Appledurcombe Priory was founded in 1090 and became the seat of the Worsley family in 1529, when Sir James Worsley and his wife Anne inherited the lease from her parents. Sir Robert Worsley, the 4th Baronet Worsley of Appledurcombe, replaced the old priory house with a masterpiece of English Baroque architecture. Nearly a century later, Sir Richard Worsley, the 7th Baronet, completed the Baroque house in Palladian and claimed the old priory house was situated a small distance from the present mansion in his 1781 History of the Isle of Wight. Foundations of an earlier building were found to the south and west of the Baroque mansion in the 20th century. Sir Richard also claimed the new house was built in 1710, repeating the date put forward by Colin Campbell in Vitruvius Britannicus. A careful reading of the estate accounts kept by the steward of Appledurcombe, Caleb Dowding, accompanied by Lady Anne Worsley's letters to her father, Lord Weymouth, proved that Campbell and Sir Richard were both wrong on the date of commencement. Sir Richard was wrong on the location of the old priory house too. Estate accounts show construction of the new Baroque house was well underway by November 19, 1701, when Sir Robert paid Mr. Fisher, stonecutter, for putting up 2 chimney pieces, one in the best chamber of the chapel and the other in the dressing room. Lady Worsley's letter home suggests Appledurcombe's new chapel, best chamber and dressing room were built on the site of the old priory's house north-east wing containing the stable and chapel. The chapel goes up a pace, Lady Worsley wrote to her father in 1701. I wish he'd let them go on as fast with the rest of the building that we might see an end of it, which I had hoped to do.
And this is corroborated by Dr. Lindsay Boyton's suggestion in the Appledurcombe Guidebook of 1967 that the new house was constructed north to south. The accounts show that when the stable block was completed, Sir Richard moved into the Great Hall at the centre of the building, which first he repaired following the Great Storm of 1703 and then rebuilt. Archaeologists suggested early this century that the internal ground floor wall of the Great Hall may be from the old priory house. Sir Richard finished by demolishing the southern wing of the old priory house, containing the great drawing room and library, and building the south elevation of the new house, containing the southeast pavilion, the drawing room, the library, and southwest pavilion for Dowding to occupy. The function of rooms in Sir Robert's new Baroque house match almost exactly those of the old priory house, if indeed one is constructed on top of the other. Archaeologists uncovered foundations of an earlier building beneath the southern elevation of the current house in 1966, as well as Tudor rubble. Architectural historians describe Appledurcombe as eccentric, unusual, and strange on account of its large protruding pavilions dominating the centre block. Pavilions are usually set back into the main building or completely separate of it. One reason for such an unusual footprint is that it follows the footprint of the original priory house. Architectural historians are now divided on Appledurcombe's architect. They agree he was well schooled in the English Baroque architecture popularised by Sir Christopher Wren, bringing the identity of Appledurcombe's architect down to 3 possible people. Boynton believed beyond reasonable doubt that John James designed Appledurcombe on account of Sir Robert mentioning a Mr. James in a letter to his father-in-law. Mr. James' business, who left me last Monday, was to fix the best manner in conveying the water from the roofs. He was much pleased with the building, as indeed I am also. William Talman and Sir John Vanbrugh are other contenders, according to the experts, but both are known for far more ornate interpretation of Baroque compared to James's much plainer approach. A part elevation design for a Baroque house might be further evidence for James. The design, possibly drawn by James in approximately 1700, could be his first attempt for Sir Robert. The design shows a central 5-bayed 3-storey block with a large single-bayed 3-storey corner pavilion. Sir Robert built a central 5-bayed 3-storey block with a large 3-bayed 2-storey pavilion, occupying the same footprint as the design possibly drawn by James. More details of Chris's discovery will be published in Mansions of Memories. He has almost finished his research and writing and will soon be seeking a publisher.
This is an article in the My View section of the paper by Jim Gibbons, and it's called Discovering the Value of Money. If you read and relish, as I do, books written between the wars, you blink in disbelief when money gets specified. We all know in theory it isn't what it was, but when you read that Lord Peter Wimsey, to the scandal of his servants, paid as much as 12 shillings and sixpence, that's 60p, for a bottle of the finest vintage port, and shocked the neighbourhood by building the largest house in the county at a cost of no less than £2,000, well, you blink. It is, of course, the government and the semi-independent Bank of England that bring this about. The bank in the last few years has conjured up £895 billion out of nothing by quantitative easing. The only difference between this and printing money is that the new money is supposed to be reversible, though this has never been done. The way the new money gets into circulation is that the bank buys government securities from the commercial banks, which therefore have more money to lend out. The benefit is supposed to trickle down to us common herd. The eminent economist J.K. Galbraith said the theory is like saying, if you feed a horse enough oats, some will get through to feed sparrows on the other side. The bank appears to have been surprised that the desired inflation did not appear for many years, but any young couple trying to get on the housing ladder could have told them it was going into assets which soared in value without forming part of the cost of living indices. At the same time, as always, the government was borrowing money in order to give us a standard of living we couldn't afford, thus building up debts which will have to be paid by our children and grandchildren. I'm not talking here of the special measures due to the COVID pandemic. History will give that verdict. We're always being told we are one of the richest countries in the world. Wouldn't it be like a breath of fresh air if the government said, from now on, we will live within our income? Others do. In Singapore, the laws state that over the term of a government, the borrowing must be zero. The parties, of course, blame us, saying they tried to keep money honest, we'd vote them out. I don't believe this to be true. If the politicians pointed out the burdens we're loading future generations with, voters would be shocked into agreement. The quote, "We are the people of England," was from G.K. Chesterton, now who wrote, "The art of government is to make 2/3 of a nation pay for the other third."
And we now go into public information, and this is by Matthew Chatfield, and it's "Do nothing rewilding is not really an option." I was recently browsing a breathlessly enthusiastic article about the joys of rewilding. If only, argued the author, we could just leave the land alone, it would heal itself and care for us. There is some truth in this, and also over-optimistic nonsense. Perhaps the most important point in rebuttal is that we can't leave the land alone. Short of migrating the human race into space, we are by default dependent on the land and the sea to sustain us. And as there are quite a few of us, we need land to grow food on. It is a simplistic fallacy to imagine that all we have to do is nothing to somehow magically fix the environment we live in. We have been looking for excuses to do nothing for far too long. Which is not to say rewilding is a bad idea, but it is important to understand it should not mean just do nothing. It can and does work, but this is because there is ongoing work to ensure that habitats and species survive sustainably alongside people. In the pure rewilding scenario of doing nothing, we would need to recycle ourselves to the loss of many species and habitants. Chalk downs for a start. Do you enjoy those views from the Brading Down? So did the Romans. And since their time, agriculture on that land is what has stopped it from getting covered in bushes. Rare Chalk Hill blue butterflies, gentians, cowslips and orchids would all be taken over by common hawthorn and blackthorn. Similarly in woodland. Who doesn't love the spring primroses and bluebells, the smell of the wild garlic, and the dangling yellow catkins of hazel in the strict rewilding regime? All of these would eventually be lost or much reduced. Most current projects involved some low-intensity grazing or direct management to avoid this issue. Still, if you have a big enough area of land and a few centuries up to wait, then it might work. Naturally, occurring clearings and the activity of mammals such as wild boar, beavers and ponies eventually would start to make it a more diverse and self-sustaining habitat. But because we humans still live here, there is not likely to be enough land available for any time soon. So long as we don't fool ourselves into imagining that rewilding is some miraculous formula for instant wilderness, it is something that could and should happen in the right places.
Now we move on to a selection of what's on items from the paper. West Wight Arts Association will be celebrating its 75th birthday on March 12th with a gala performance of two of classical music's best-loved works, Mozart's Clarinet Quintet and Schubert's Octet. The acclaimed Chiaroscuro String Quartet, led by violinist Alina Ibragimova, will be joined by Matthew Hunt Clarinet, Alec Frank Gemmell Horn, Julian Bruckmann Double Bass and Chris Rawley Bassoon. All the musicians will be playing on period instruments. The string quartet have been described as thrilling in the best sense of the word, and Matthew Hunt's recording of the Mozart Clarinet Quintet was acclaimed by BBC Music magazine as the benchmark recording of this much-recorded work. The concert will take place in the Memorial Hall Freshwater and will start at 7 p.m. Tickets are available at £15, children and students £2, from westwightarts.co.uk or Totland Parish Office 756028. Please take a lateral flow test and wear a mask. Windows will be open, so dress warmly.
And this one is Islanders to Play a Role in a Pageant by Lucy Morgan. Islanders will make up the majority of more than 200 people heading from the south coast to London to perform in the Queen's Jubilee pageant this summer. Around 120 Isle of Wight performers will wear extravagant animal-themed costumes and will parade to the sounds of Ventnor Comic Jazz Band on June the 5th. Promising a riot of colour, the island's contingent is led by Ryde-based Shademakers. Movement director Joe Plum said their theme is about Britain's creativity and humour. We have a menagerie of different animals, from mythical beasts to farmyard animals, he told the county press. A lot of them are the Queen's beasts, which are heraldic animals used in symbols and flags. There are English lions and 20 Scottish unicorns. Founded on the front of our passports, the Dragon of Wales and the Snake of Northern Ireland. The unicorns are going to be decorated in different colours, representing different things. It's a massive, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Ventnor Comic Jazz Band, senior member Mike Callander said, "We are honoured and thrilled to be chosen for this prestigious event. It promises to be a lot of fun, which is very much our style. Shademakers is the only arts organisation on the South Coast to be included and will travel up with its special guests, bands from Scotland and Gosport." Joe said, "We're honoured to be selected to represent the Isle of Wight at this huge event with a massive global audience. The islanders will head to the capital on coaches, packed out with their elaborate, intricate costumes designed by skilled in-house designer Paul McLaren." Lily George, Movement's director, said, "The costumes have to be portable, so they can come apart in sections to make that easier. It's so exciting. It's an absolute honour to be asked to do this." The team is hoping the audience, and of course the Queen herself, will enjoy the humour and passions for the arts in their part of the parade.
3 items of possible interest from the Medina Theatre. Leslie Garrett joined Britain's most popular soprano for a delightful evening of song, reminiscences and chat. Accompanied by Anna Tilbrook, Leslie's behind-the-scenes stories and anecdotes will give audiences a unique insight into her life on the stage. As well as performing on the opera and concert stage, both in the UK and internationally, Leslie has recently returned to English National Opera for the world premiere production of Nico Mulli's Marnie. In 2018, she appeared with WNO in another world premiere, creating the role of MC in Rhonda Rips It Up, based on the life of the suffragette Margaret Haig Thomas, Lady Rhondda. In the spring of 2019, she created another new role in ENO's world premiere of Ian Bell's opera, Jack the Ripper. That's on Friday, 18th of March at 7:30. Herman's Hermits. From their early beginnings in Manchester in 1964, the band have chalked up 23 hit singles, 10 hit albums, appeared in 3 major movies, and to date they've sold in excess of 75 million records worldwide. Hits include There's a Kind of Hush, Silhouettes, Can't You Hear My Heartbeat, Wonderful World, A Must to Avoid, Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter, and many more. That's on Saturday, 12th of March. And then the Dublin Legends. Following the sudden death of founding member Barney McKenna in 2012 and John Sheehan's decision to retire, it was agreed that the Dubliners as a touring band would come to an end and the Dublin Legends were born. The Dublin Legends, Sean Cannon, Paul Watchorn, Gary O'Connor and Shay Kavanagh, have over 100 years of performing experience between them, and Sean was the lead singer with the Dubliners for over 30 of them. They will, of course, continue to play all the classic songs and ballads known the world over: Whiskey in the Jar, Dirty Old Town, The Wild Rover, 7 Drunken Nights, The Rare Old Times, Molly Malone, The Irish Rover, Black Velvet Band, and many more. That's on Sunday, 20th of March.
And we now move on to additional news items. And the first one I have here is Green Energy Cash Award. Wight Community Energy, WCE, has been awarded £56,547 from Power to Change to deliver new community renewable energy projects this year. WCE will work with partner organisations to pioneer innovative community-led renewable energy and low-carbon projects, including Isle EV, the electric vehicle project, the Smart Hot Water Tank project, and the e-cargo bike delivery demonstration project.
This is about a missionary at the heart of the Ukraine war zone. A Christian missionary from the island who's been living in Ukraine for more than 4 years is asking people to pray for his adopted home. Samuel Hughes, 25, has been living in Odessa and has been moved by the efforts of the island community to rally goods to send out to the stricken country. He told County Press, "I grew up in Newport. I learned to ride a bicycle cycling up and down the road at Victoria Recreation Ground. In Ukraine, I live in Odessa. I learned to speak the language pacing up and down my local football field. 7 years ago, while in sixth form at Christ the King College, I volunteered with charities like Youth for Christ and Revive Newport, for those who remember Park Life and Band Night. In Ukraine, I serve as a Christian missionary trying to make a difference in the lives of at-risk and vulnerable children, including orphans, Roma children and children from the war zone. Ukraine, like the island, is a beautiful and peaceful place. But for Ukraine, that peace has been broken and that beauty is under fire." Samuel said he'd like people to know the truth amid a war of lies. He said so much nonsense has been spread about the Ukrainian government committing genocide, about the Ukrainian people oppressing Russian speakers. This is not true. The truth is that neither Russians nor Ukrainians want this war. He also said the war isn't new because for the 4 years he's lived in Ukraine, Ukrainian war casualties have been a regular occurrence. He also wants people to know that what the Ukrainian news outlets are showing are more distressing and graphic than what the West is exposed to. However, he also said that the spirit of the Ukrainian people is formidable, likely unbreakable, and this has been underestimated by Putin. Samuel thinks 3 things will make a difference. Firstly, he wants people to pray and talk about the truth. Secondly, he'd like to encourage people to donate and send essential items or send finances directly to larger charities and organisations. And thirdly, he asks that people use the power of social media to create art, write stories, gather together and communicate support for Ukraine and condemnation for the attacks.
Bembridge's pub's 1-star hygiene rating. Food hygiene issues here have been uncovered at an island pub, meaning major improvements is necessary in some areas. Following an inspection by the Isle of Wight Council Environmental Health Officers, Bembridge's Old Village Inn has been given a 1 out of 5 rating. Owner J. Chapman said he and his team were addressing the issues raised straight away and we're looking forward to welcoming a new award-winning chef at Easter. Improvements were deemed necessary in 2 categories: hygienic food handling and the cleanliness and condition of its facilities and buildings. Inspectors said major improvement was also necessary in regard to the management of food safety. In January 2022 and March 2020, the establishment has been handed a 1 out of 5 ratings. In March 2019, it had 3 stars, but in March 2017, it had 1 star and 0 stars in September 2016. Mr. Chapman said, "We've been in contact with Environmental Health since our review back in March 2020, when our old kitchen collapsed. They didn't reply to us. We opened up an outside kitchen in July 2020. Our old kitchen was too small, so we invested around $56,000 into a new one. We wrote to them 6 times and got no reply. Then 2 weeks before the inspection, they told us they were going to do the whole thing in one hit: a consultation, appeal and hygiene visit. Had they done the consultation first, we could have been probably addressed most of the issues before the inspection. The officer said, apart from the structural issues, we are moving in the right direction. Because of problems with materials, we can't fully complete the ceiling. We are already scheduled 3 closures for builders to make covers over the food preparation areas. They also highlighted 10 items out of date, but they were all about a day out. It stated the fact that we hadn't registered our business under Bembridge Pubs Limited, which I've since clarified. The bottom line is, if they'd gone out and helped us to start with, we wouldn't be in this situation. But we have both agreed to move forward from this and to get all the points rectified as soon as possible.
This is to do with the contribution of our MP Bob Seeley in the House of Commons. A public inquiry into how Russian money and corruption in the UK has been called for in the House of Commons by Isle of Wight MP Bob Seeley. Sanctions against Russian oligarchs need to be followed by a public inquiry into dirty money in UK public life, ministers have heard. Conservative MP for the Isle of Wight, Mr Seeley, told the Commons on Tuesday, I would seek a public inquiry, frankly, into what has gone wrong in the last 10 to 15 years, because this system is becoming rotten at so many levels. The amount of money, the corruption to some of the standards in the legal firms, some of the former politicians on their side and on ours, who are effectively the public spokesman for these people. It's wrong, and there is progress to be made. I support this bill, but it should be a start and not an end. He's seeking a public inquiry which would root out dirty money from UK public life. Calls from both Labour and Conservative MPs to strengthen the sanctions regime came as MPs approved new measures against Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. On Wednesday, Mr Seeley spoke in Ukrainian in the House, directly to the war-torn country's ambassador, who was in the public gallery in Parliament for PMQs. Addressing the gallery, Mr Seeley thanked the ambassador and added a message of support for Ukraine before translating what he'd said for fellow MPs.
Identity case brings fine. Failing to identify the driver of a car cost a man more than £800. The case against William Light, 75, of Meadowside, Newport, was heard at Preston Magistrates Court last month. The court heard that on August the 17th, 2021, in Preston, Light failed to give information relating to the driver of a Renault. The case was proved in his absence. He was fined £660 and must pay costs of £90 and a surcharge of £66. His licence was endorsed with 6 penalty points.
This article is to do with secondary school places. There's disappointment for 17% of the island's Year 6 children this week, as they didn't get their first choice secondary school option. More than 1,000 children were offered places at secondary schools on Tuesday, on National Offer Day, finding out which secondary school they'll attend for 2022-23 academic year. On the island, only 83% got their preferred first choice. Everyone who wanted to go to Christ the King College and Medina College as their first choice got a place. Oversubscribed schools were Carisbrooke College, Ryde Academy and the Island Free School. In total, the Isle of Wight Council received 1,167 applications on time. Of those, 83% received their first choice, 127 their second choice, and 27 their third choice. It means nearly 95% of parents have been offered a place for their child at one of their preferred schools. This compares to 91% in 2021. Every on-time applicant was offered a place. There are some families who applied late. Parents who have applied for a primary school place will be notified on April 19th.
Isle of Wight man attacked police. A Newport man who phoned the police only to assault and injure 3 officers during a struggle at his home has been sentenced. Justin Janeway of Honey Hill appeared before Isle of Wight magistrates. The 40-year-old submitted 3 counts of assault by beating of police officers on February the 6th. Prosecutor Liz Miller said the police had attended Janeway's address, arrested him on an unrelated matter. He had been taken upstairs to use the toilet, but soon became aggressive and unpredictable, jumping on a bed. Fearing that there could be a concealed weapon, one of the officers followed him to the bed and took hold of his arm. Janeway pulled away and started to struggle, grabbing the officer's body armour and buttocks and attempting to bite his leg and hands. All 3 officers sustained minor injuries. Janeway was described as being drunk. Oscar Vincent, defending, said Janeway was a person of previously good character. He had been suffering with mental health issues and had relapsed into alcohol use. He had called police as a way of seeking help, but had not intended to injure the officers and was disgusted and ashamed with himself. Sentencing was adjourned to March the 25th.
A man has died before he was due in court on historic sexual offences charges. Ian Dell, aged 76, of Corbett Road, Ryde, was due in front of Island magistrates on February 22nd. He was due to face charges from between 1974 and 1984, including 3 counts of indecent assault on a girl under 14, unlawful intercourse with a girl under 13, indecent assault on a boy under 14, and taking an indecent photograph of a child. The case has been discontinued.
Man smashed cars with a baseball bat. A Newport man smashed up 3 cars with a baseball bat and later drove up a grass bank to evade police. Harry Turnbull of Westminster Lane appeared before Isle of Wight magistrates. The 30-year-old admitted criminal damage and failing to stop for police on November the 6th, 2021. Prosecutor Liz Milner told the court police had been called at around 10:50 p.m. She said 3 vehicles had been parked on a driveway off Palance Road in Northwood. 2 males were seen on a CCTV system, one approaching the front door of an address, while the other, Turnbull, attacked the vehicles with a baseball bat. Damage to the value of £285.88 was caused, and then both males got back into their Vauxhall Astra and drove away. All 3 vehicles, which belonged to the same owner, had smashed windscreens and varying degrees of other damage. A search was conducted and officers checked the Ambassador Snooker Club off Gunville Road, where a number of cars had been parked. They heard a loud engine sound as a Vauxhall Astra attempted to drive away, recognising the registration, and had a drive around a male running and shouting, "Harry, go, go!" When officers blocked the Vauxhall Astra from reversing, it drove up a grass bank and out of sight. Police didn't have a suitable vehicle to give chase, but found the Vauxhall Astra at a later date. Jim Osborne, defending, said Turnbull was unwilling to discuss the matter, but pleaded guilty at the earliest opportunity. Probation officer Mary Reid told the bench Turnbull did not want to discuss the personal circumstances surrounding the offence. She said he would rather serve a prison sentence than a community penalty. Turnbull, who was described as having a lengthy criminal record and a history of failing to comply with community penalties, was given a 12-month community order to include 240 hours of unpaid work. He was ordered to pay £2,852.88 compensation. costs of 85p and a 95p surcharge.
This next article is to do with seafront clearance. Protected woodland on the border of Cowes and Gurnard has been absolutely obliterated without the consent of one of its owners. Last week, trees and vegetation behind Prince's Esplanade and Egypt Esplanade were torn down, causing uproar in the community. Now, Cowes resident Rosalind Murray, who owns the land on Egypt Esplanade up to the Welcome to Gurnard sign, has spoken of the damage done to her ground, which adjoins that owned by Southern Gas Network, SGN. Speaking of the devastation this week, Ms Murray said she has had it confirmed by SGN they went well over the boundary and the company is apologetic for what happened. The damage is already done, however, she said, as they've vandalised my property and absolutely obliterated the site. Ms Murray says she doesn't believe there is an issue with trespass as has been claimed, because there was a public footpath running through her land connecting the seafront to Battery Road. She says the land is for everyone and she liked people using it. The land has been in Ms Murray's family for 36 years, and during that time she and her father have protected the site and the species that live on it to prevent any building. She said no money in the world could compensate for what has happened, and now the land is in more danger of a landslip. The woodland has tree protection orders and is a site of importance for nature conservation. SGN is believed to have consented to work on its land. It's been contacted for comment. The Isle of Wight Council is investigating the works, with local councillor Paul Fuller confirming the work didn't have permission. The council's tree officer told Councillor Fuller a SGN manager had said the site was cleared due to trespassing and the need to make it safe. Work has since stopped, but last Friday Councillor Fuller said SGN should know the status of its land and permission was needed to do the work. He said this demonstrated how irresponsible it was. He was fully behind any enforcement action the council may take.
Smoke alarm saviour. The importance of working alarms was shown on Saturday when a family was alerted to a fire in their Yarmouth home. It meant they could get out of their home safely after a fire started in a tumble dryer. 2 fire crews from Freshwater and Newport were called at 3 a.m. Firefighters wearing breathing apparatus entered the property and extinguished the fire, confining it to the one room.
Coast Guard ambulance and police were called to an incident in Sandown on Sunday morning. A woman was understood to have been pulled from the water. Among those to be called to the scene on Sandown seafront was Bembridge Coast Guard Rescue Team and Sandown and Shanklin Independent Lifeboat. They were alerted by a member of the public.
Scam risk to island businesses. Businesses risk being scammed by people pretending to offer advertising for a magazine. It is one of the latest scams being warned about by Trading Standards. Isle of Wight Against Scams Partnership says a local business reported receiving calls from a company claiming to be a fire safety organisation, and they wanted them to advertise in their magazine. They said they knew the business and had advertised in a local church magazine. We had received many reports over the past few years from businesses who have received calls like this, and if they'd taken them up, they have never seen the magazine and had been aggressively pursued for future payments, even threatening bailiffs. If you are a business and receive a call like this, ignore it. It is highly likely to be a scam. Other scams include a fake delivery text from a delivery service or the Royal Mail, asking you to import your details. There have been reports from residents concerned about letters received from a debt collection company associated with the Isle of Wight Council. The company named is legitimate, but the letters may be scams. The advice is not to pay anything before checking with the council.
There are calls from Conservative councillors for activity in County Hall's public gallery to be recorded on video. It follows an angry meeting last Wednesday in which members of the public shouted at councillors and the authorities' chair repeatedly told them to shut up. The meeting was adjourned and the public gallery was cleared. Councillor Susie Ellis said she had felt intimidated because she sits with her back to the public gallery.
Polar's demolition gets underway. The derelict former Polar's residential home in Newport is being demolished. The building has been empty since 2017, after it was sold by Somerset Care to its current owner, Laurie Guster, and has since fallen into the state of disrepair. Now work to clear the inside ahead of final demolition has begun. A spokesperson for Ryde Demolition confirmed it had been awarded the contract to demolish Polar's and included removing the foundations and make the site suitable for building works. 2015, permission was granted to Somerset Care to demolish the building and replace it with a 67-bed care home and 12 houses. However, the Isle of Wight Council says planning permission has since lapsed, and in the authorities' draft island planning strategy, the site has been earmarked to potentially yield 50 homes. Next door, neighbours to the dilapidated care home on Staplers Road in Wallace Court said in November last year they would welcome houses if it meant the site was made safe. One resident, Tina Snow, is blind and said she fears for her safety due to the state of the building, as it has no CCTV or security guards and could be a fire hazard. Tina described the building as falling to bits, with lots of debris, and it was just a matter of time until something happened or someone was seriously hurt. Les, another resident who could almost touch Polar's from his front door, said he was used to shooing people away from the building and had to take measures to stop people breaking in. Moving into Wallace Court in 2017, before Polar's was abandoned, Les said there has been a large amount of damage caused with broken windows and inside completely smashed. The spokesperson for Ryde Demolition said a soft strip of the inside had been undertaken with further work to knock down the building imminent. The company was just waiting for the final green light from building control for the final demolition. The spokesperson issued a warning, however, calling for people to stay away from the site and not to try and gain entry as the site is unsafe.
As part of Ryde's celebrations to commemorate the Queen's Jubilee, the town's residents are invited to nominate a Ryde resident deserving of the honorary Freedom of Ryde. 7 Ryde residents, one for every decade of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, will be selected and presented with the title at an awards ceremony on the weekend of Jubilee festivities. Ryde Mayor Michael Lilly said, "This is a fantastic way to honour the incredible work that people of Ryde have done for their community over the last 70 years. We can't think of any better way to celebrate the Jubilee than by awarding this highest of honours to 7 Ryde heroes. They really are the Magnificent 7. Hannah East, Ryde Town Council Marketing Officer, said, "The Freedom of Ryde is a huge honour and we're thrilled to be presenting it to 7 wonderful Ryde residents. I can't wait to see the nominations flood in. If you'd like to nominate someone for their service, achievements, profession or contribution to Ryde, email reception@rydetowncouncil.gov.uk or post to Ryde Town Council. When nominating, include the name, date of birth and contact details of the person, along with why they should be considered. Nominations must be submitted by 2 p.m. on March 31st.
And with that, everybody, we come to the end of our session. And so it's goodbye from Imelda.
And it's goodbye from Howard. But before I finally leave you, a message from Terry. Please make sure that you do send your blue or red wallets with its memory stick back each week to ensure you continue receiving the Talking News. Goodbye, best wishes, Howard. OK, the In Touch programme follows and the scaffolding news follows that. In Touch, last weekend marked 2 years since the tragic death of blind rail user Cleveland Gervais due to him falling off a train platform's edge in southeast London. Since then, the UK's train network operators have been coming up with ways to make train stations a safer place for visually impaired travellers, including the pledge to install tactile paving to all train station platforms by 2029. Now the Office of Rail and Road, who are the railways regulator, has submitted its response to the government's Rail Accident and Investigation Branch's report about Cleveland Gervais' death. Within the report, it mentions that train operators have an ambition to get a lot of their tactile paving installation work done by 2024 to 2025, but with no guarantee. On the programme, we speak to the regulator about their recommendations and also to Network Rail about their ambitions to speed up their installation work, and we ask for any further updates on their progress. And last year, the Be My Eyes app made taking COVID-19 PCR tests more accessible to those with some remaining vision. Now they've teamed up with the UK Health Security Agency and NHS Test and Trace to make lateral flow tests more accessible too. We speak to someone who's tried out the service and who is involved in the pilot, and to Will Butler, who's the Chief Experience Officer at Be My Eyes. The presenter of the programme is Peter Wight, the producer is Beth Hummings, and the production coordinator Liz Poole.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Better late than never could well be our watchword for tonight's programme. For example, finally there's a way for some, though not all visually impaired people, to take a lateral flow COVID test almost independently.
Hello, my name's Chloe and I'm a specialist agent from the NHS Test and Trace. So if you want to take the swab, if you hold it by the very end and you just kind of like swab over your tonsils in the back of your throat for like 10 seconds.
Okay.
Perfect. And then if you get the little vial with the liquid.
Yeah. If I put this right to the screen, is it in?
And then you can snap it where the little ridge was.
Oh, cool.
We'll be finding out more later on. But first, could we be closer to making all UK railway stations safer by the installation of tactile surfaces to indicate the edge of platforms? This past weekend marked 2 years since the death of blind rail passenger Cleveland Gervais at Eden Park Station in southeast London, where there were no markings to warn him of the platform's edge. Last year it was announced that the Department for Transport was allocating £10 million to Network Rail to install tactile paving at 200 priority train stations by 2029. But as we reported on this programme, that timeframe was criticised by a number of visual impairment organisations for not being nearly quick enough. Well, now the Office of Rail and Road, that's the railways regulator, has submitted their responses to the government's Rail Accident Investigation Branch's report about Cleveland Gervais' death. Well, we'll be speaking to Network Rail in a moment. But first, Chris Davis is the Principal Inspector of Railways at the Office of Rail and Road, and he joins us now. Chris, the investigation made it clear that the absence of tactile markings contributed considerably to Mr Gervais' death. What conclusions did you come to about what should be done about this, and what were the main factors in your report?
There's three, really. The first one is for the railway industry to develop a coherent policy and process for establishing when tactile surfaces need to be provided. The second one is to then come up with a time-bound programme for installing those tactile surfaces. And the third was to develop a means for reducing the risk to visually impaired people in the meantime. So where stations hadn't yet had tactile surfaces installed, to come up with some alternative interim mitigation measures.
Can I ask you what the regulator's timescale on this is, especially the issue of tactile markings on all stations? How soon do you think this should be done?
So initially, for the highest priority locations, we've had information from Network Rail and agreed with them that they will complete those installations by April this year. So that process has been ongoing for the last year and is almost complete for the highest priority locations.
What about
for
the
rest? So at the moment, the end date is at the end of what's called the next control period, which is in 2029. Now, that is not a target. That is the absolute sort of end stop, if you like. And we know that some of the Network Rail regions have committed to us that they will have completed this work quite a lot earlier than that. For example, 2024, 25. And we will continue to work with Network Rail to get those time scales reduced as much as possible for us and for Network Rail to install them.
Chris Davies of the Office of Road and Rail. Well, Alan Spence is Head of Public and Passenger Safety at Network Rail, and I've been speaking to him. I suggested that the regulator is concerned with what they've described as a lack of engagement from passenger groups, including those representing visually impaired people. I asked him what Network Rail had been doing to address this.
Network Rail's focus in terms of learning the lessons and making sure we really adapt the network has been very much about what we can do to make the platforms safer themselves. We only operate the 20 largest stations in the country. We have temporary mitigation in place at the few of those that don't have tactile surfaces. The rest of our focus has absolutely been on having a programme in place to accelerate getting tactile surfaces fitted at the edge of every single one of the platforms on the mainline railway.
Now, to do that, you're going to need money. Are you expecting any additional funding from the Department for Transport to reach this potential target, which is being mentioned, of 24, 25, as opposed to 29, which many people thought was ridiculous and far too far away?
And that was before we'd had a chance really to work out exactly what needed to be done. What we have done now is we've got a much better handle on where we need to focus. We've prioritised all of those stations. And as you're aware, we had an initial sum of £10 million allocated by the department, which we are busy spending right now. So there's the top priority stations are being fitted now. And as you'll have seen in correspondence from the Department for Transport, they have confirmed that additional funding will be made available to complete the job.
Do you know when?
We know that that will be available by the time we need it. So we're working at the moment with the existing £10 million, and there are some significant bits of progress being made along the way. I've got the precise dates when we'll have finished some really busiest stations like Waterloo and Clapham Junction. So we're getting on and dealing with those high priority stations, and we are funded to do the work that we've got in the plan so far.
But of course, Mr. Gervais's accident was on a smaller station well outside London, and of course the majority of people don't live in London at all. What people are looking for is, can all the stations be safe by 2025?
I can't be absolutely certain with that date. I have a number of dates with different regions, but it's right that we prioritise that work. And so you say not everybody lives in London, but a great many people do visit London, and hence why we're focusing on those where we get the best risk reduction earliest on in our programme. Some of the current plans do roll out a little bit further. It's much shorter than it was in our initial estimate of 2029, but realistically, I can't say to you everything will be fixed by April 25.
So in the meantime, can you just explain a bit more about the temporary safety measures being put in place until these works are finished? Because last time we spoke to you, we asked if it was possible, for instance, to install other forms of non-concrete tactile paving, which would be cheaper and quicker. Can that happen?
Yes, it can. And that's a solution we're using. So those solutions, which I broadly describe as glued-on solutions, they stick on top of the existing surface, are what we are using for some of the improvements we're making. There is a limitation, though. The glues which we use to make sure that they're firmly fixed down can't be used at extremely low temperatures. So now we're out of the depths of winter, we're able to really motor with installing those glued-on solutions.
And in fact, I know there are beginning to be warnings for people about stations without the tactile paving, because I've heard them. In fact, we can hear them now.
Please be aware that some platforms at this station have no or only partial tactile paving on the platform edge.
That clearly is something that will help. Alan, do stay with us because, of course, another element of safety for visually impaired people and other people who have disabilities is the assistance that they should be able to rely on when catching or transferring between trains. Well, despite a major training programme completed last year for those giving such assistance, problems are still occurring too often and we're hearing about them. Listener Caris Hall got in touch with us to tell us about several problems she's faced, the latest of them only a few days ago.
I was travelling from Chichester to Coventry. I got off the train myself and was waiting on the platform at Coventry station, and appeared that no assistance had actually come to support me. So I was quite disorientated, don't know my way around the station at all.
What should happen in these cases for those people who don't know how this system works?
Usually I would assume that someone would help me off of the train. If you've got a connection to take, they take you onto your next train, and if you're stopping there, they'll either take you to the main entrance if you're meeting a family member, or they'll take you to a taxi.
What was the final outcome of the situation at Coventry?
My nana actually had to come and get me herself. So not only did they leave me stranded on the platform feeling quite vulnerable and unsafe, they made my severely disabled nan come and collect me herself. When we got to Coventry customer services office, and basically what they said to me was, "Did you book?" And I said, "Yes, I did book. I've got a reference number here." And he said, "Well, it's not our fault, it's the fault of the platform staff." There was no genuine apology.
Although you have heard since, I believe, from
Avanti, Avanti West Coast, yes. So they have assured me that this doesn't happen often, which, to tell you the truth, I disagree with that statement. However, they've been quite professional and they did say that they will try and compensate me. I haven't heard anything yet since, so it's all very open-ended.
Now, people will say, well, yeah, but these things can happen every now and again. But this isn't, for you, it's not really been every now and again, has it?
No. So I was again travelling from Coventry this time back home, and my connection was leaving from Birmingham New Street. So I got myself off the train. No one had come for me. Fortunately, I was able to flag down two women that had actually been travelling on my train. And they tried to help me onto a connection, but it was the wrong connection. So I kind of told the guard on board the train this has happened. She got in touch with Birmingham New Street and said, "Can you help this young lady by booking her a taxi from Cheltenham?" And they refused. They said it wasn't our fault.
Can I just ask you about the overall effect of this on you and your confidence to travel?
So fortunately, I am quite a confident person and a confident traveller because I've been travelling for about 4 or 5 years now. But it does fill me with a lot of anxiety even still. I have to get around on a train. It's my only real way of getting around the country, and I'm entitled to that as an independent woman. However, when I book these journeys, I get a sense of dread, thinking, is this going to be the day where something goes wrong? And not only does something go wrong, but something goes terribly wrong and there's going to be an accident and I'm going to be stranded and goodness knows what can happen to me.
That's Caris Hall. Well, Avanti West Coast, who are the managing operators of Coventry Station, told us,
whilst a member of our team was on the platform to meet the train, a breakdown in communication meant that they were unable to find Caris, but did return immediately once made aware. This situation highlights the need to make further improvements to passenger assistance right across the industry. We would like to apologise again to both Caris and her grandmother for what happened. Our frontline teams have all had extensive disability awareness training, but it's clear that on this occasion we could and should have done better.
Well, Alan Spence of Network Rail is still with us and has been listening to that. As Caris mentioned, this has happened on more than one occasion, including at Birmingham New Street, which is a station operated by Network Rail. What do you say to what happened to Caris?
I can only offer both personal and apologies on behalf of the company. Nobody should have that kind of uncertainty and worry in using the railway, so I'm very sorry. We have done a huge amount, as your statement from Avanti, to equip those who provide our passenger assistance service with the right skills, the right awareness. So I can't excuse the service that Caris has received, and her feedback helps us to continue to improve the app and improve the service.
I guess what is concerning, though, is that we were told last year on this programme that there was a major training operation going for people who actually did this kind of work, and that all the train operators were involved in that, and that would be concluded by the end of the year 2021. So that's why it's concerning that, here we are in 2022 and these things are still happening.
And I agree, it's not good enough if that's the way that Caris is being treated when she needs support from the passenger assist teams. The Network Rail team, who provide that service in our managed stations, such as in Birmingham New Street or others around the country, are specifically trained and are dedicated service providers for the people who use those stations.
That was Alan Spence of Network Rail. Another subject we've tried to keep in the public eye is a system to enable blind and partially sighted people to take lateral flow tests for COVID independently. And ironically, this seems to have become possible for some people at least at exactly the moment that the government has announced its Living with COVID plan, which outlines a significant downgrading of the importance of such tests, including no longer making them free of charge from the 1st of April. Well, despite this, the UK Health Security Agency has joined forces with the Be My Eyes app to make lateral flow tests more accessible for partially sighted people. We've repeatedly been inviting the agency onto the programme since early January to talk about their plans. We're still being told that no one from the agency is willing to talk to us. So instead, we've turned to Be My Eyes, who help blind and partially sighted people with daily tasks by connecting them by video call with sighted volunteers. We'll be speaking to Will Butler from Be My Eyes in a moment, but first someone who's actually tried it out and was involved in the research. Matt Cliff explained to me how the process worked.
It's effectively like a video call taken through to a healthcare professional. So you go through the process of doing the testing with support, with that visual feedback and instruction, and then 15 minutes later, we were calling back and they were reading the result to me. All of my previous experience with both PCR and LFD tests have all been with support. I actually didn't know how the process worked because I just can't see enough to do it.
And of course, you're still getting support, basically. So why is this so much better than, as it were, having to do it yourself?
I think the important thing to remember is I'm fortunate enough that I've got some support at home, but there's a huge proportion of people who are visually impaired that don't have that support around them. And actually, it's nice to be independent. It's nice to do these things for yourself.
And I understand you have had to test yourself quite regularly. I mean, has this service enabled you to do it more independently as you've got used to the process?
Absolutely. Just not so much more independent because I was completely dependent previously. This is something I can do without the need of having to wait for someone else to come home. I think the service would help people with a range, a full spectrum of visual impairments.
Matt Cliff there. Well, Will Butler is the Chief Experience Officer of Be My Eyes. He's based in California and he joins us. Will, how did you get involved with this?
Oh gosh, we've been communicating with NHS since early in the pandemic. Be My Eyes is, a task-oriented app, right? So the service that's being provided is entirely scoped and designed by the folks at NHS who figured out exactly what service they need to deliver on the app. And Be My Eyes doesn't advise in the process or tell them exactly how to help. It's between the provider and the individual.
But does it surprise you actually that it has taken so long? To be fair, we've had COVID with us now for 2 years, sadly, and we've only really just got this off the ground. Why do you think it's taken so long?
Things take a long time. When you're working with big numbers, unfortunately, accessibility is often deprioritized across the board, whether you're talking to private companies or governments. But UK is leading the way here. We don't have any other government entities or any other major national programs providing this type of support in other countries, and that's a problem. We've got some great specialized health providers in the United States who are providing support with COVID testing, but they're private companies.
It's sometimes being said, and we've had it said to us by some organisations, that this can't really be done by totally blind people. And yet the contributor we've had today, whose sight is very poor, feels that actually a totally blind person could use it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're bridging a gap, unfortunately. And the same goes for so many of the experiences that folks use Be My Eyes for. It does require another human set of eyes to accomplish whatever the task is. And it's our hope that any feedback about where the human needed to be in the loop to add the eyesight in there, that feedback is delivered to the folks who are designing these products so that they can make better products the next time around.
Will Butler, thank you very much indeed. And that's it for today. To share your comments and experiences, you can email in touch at bbc.co.uk. You can leave your voice messages on 0161 836 1338. From me, Peter White, producer Beth Hemmings and studio managers Sharon Hughes and Carwyn Griffiths, goodbye.
And in the Newport area, Guildhall High Street, the Old Mill Street Cross Lane, Newport Minster, St Thomas Square, Phones for you, 50 High Street and 54 High Street, Carisbrooke.
In the Cowes area, Jersey Cottage, Market Hill, Sunhill and Old NatWest Bank, 104 High Street.
And in East Cowes area, the Co-op, York Road, Skips are in 56 South Bank Road.
In Shanklin, 6A Landguard Road, Boots 1 Regent Street.
And Ventnor, Oberdurman South Street.
And in Ventnor area, Skips at Methodist Church, High Street.
And before we start the county press, here is the
Sight for Wight newsletter, February 2022. Your local sight loss charity. Spotlight on Charles. Meet trustee Christina and volunteer Steve. Local fundraising and members forum. Charity number 1149415. Company number 6240404. Photograph shows volunteer Steve with his dog.
Hello everyone, this is Sue Bungay here reading my report for the newsletter. In this issue of the newsletter we will be looking at travel and how we can offer support. The ways to use available transport around the island and also accessing the mainland with discounted travel. Hopefully, with the easing of COVID restrictions and the thought of improving weather, this will encourage us all to be able to plan some days out. We are also able to offer help with applying for a blue badge. Please do contact us if you would find that helpful. Sight for Wight have also reinstated the local fundraising group and the members forum, and we would like as many members as possible to join in and support these groups. We have restarted many of our usual activities, and any that have had to be delayed will hopefully soon be on offer. The postponed Mix and Mingle Christmas lunch was held in February, and it was a great success and much appreciated by all those who attended. I believe that Father Christmas also interrupted his holiday to be there. To all our wonderful knitters, thank you for supporting so many projects over the past year, and I know that many of you will be already knitting Easter chicks. And what a fantastic achievement that was last year. My thanks, as always, to our marvellous volunteers, our dedicated staff who are always there to be so supportive and helpful, and the trustees who donate so much of their time. Thank you.
CEO Update read by Lisa. Welcome to our February 2022 newsletter. With the latest government announcement that finally all COVID measures can be removed from the 1st of March 2022, I have to profess to breathing a huge sigh of relief. Negotiating the constantly changing advice, trying to balance members, volunteers and staff physical health with the obvious negative effect the whole pandemic has had and still is having on all of our mental health has certainly been a very challenging time. Everything that we have all endured for the last 2 years has taken its toll on every single one of us, even if we think we are unaffected. Detailed in both the picture and the image description in the Meadenhall College Top 10 Tips to Mental Good Health. Each one in themselves sounds so simple, and they are, but pulled together, they really are excellent tips to working towards restoring our own level of calm and peace with ourselves. So pick up the phone, pop round to a friend, take a stroll, add healthy snacks to your diet, set yourself a bedtime, and remember you are special, unique, and you're a genuinely nice person. Image description. Top 10 tips to good mental health. 1. Talk to someone. 2. Spend time with supportive friends. 3. Get enough sleep. 4. Ask for help. 5. Keep yourself active. 6. Think positive. 7. Spend time outside. 8. Eat well, drink well. 9. Limit your screen time. And 10. Believe in yourself. We are delighted to announce the reopening of our Members Forum and our local fundraising groups from March 2022. The Members Forum group, headed by the CEO, myself, is intended to include a good range of people, for example, guide dog users, long cane users, partially sighted members, a broad age range, people living with lifelong conditions, and newly diagnosed people. The aim of the group is to represent the interests of all users of Sight for Wight services, to seek feedback on the range and quality of services being provided, and to put forward suggestions for improvement, to discuss and evaluate new ideas on service improvements, offer ideas on how to engage with the wider VI community, and bring issues of concern or potential risk to the attention of the CEO. The board times are yet to be set, as I would like people to come forward to join the group, and then we can find a mutually convenient time to meet. We aim to hold between 4 and 7 meetings a year. Please do come forward if you would like to join. The local fundraising committee. The board was formed to generate funds and raise awareness of the charity through a presence at traditional local shows, events and one-off fundraising events. The board consists of one trustee, John Moore, the volunteers manager, Susan Earley, and other local supporters from our membership, local businesses and other supporting organisations. The board decides which shows we should attend, how the stalls should be set up, what items should be sold, what charity information should be taken, and keeps track of stocks, costs and income for each show. Further, the board decides what other local fundraising we should do. For example, we are currently running our Knitters campaign, with volunteers making knitted chicks ready for Easter, which we will fill with cream eggs and sell locally. The board also provides ideas to individuals who wish to raise money for the charity with fundraising ideas, the administration of sponsorship, gift aid and the promotion of these people's ideas. Finally, the board is asked to give ideas on the promotion of the charity to raise awareness of what we do and how we can help. Please do come forward if you would like to join this board. Thank you. Lisa, CEO.
Members' activities. Weekly. Monday, swimming at Medina Leisure Centre, Newport. Term time only, between 1:30pm and 2:30pm. The cost is £5 and £2.50 transport.
Wednesday. Coffee and chat at Millbrook House between 10am and 11:30am. All are welcome to join us for coffee and cake. The cost is £1 and the group is open to all, not just members.
Thursday, mix and mingle at Millbrook House between 10:30am and 2pm. Planned activities including crafts, quizzes and entertainment. The cost to join is £3 plus £2.50 for transport if required.
Monthly. First Tuesday of the month. God's Hill Coffee Morning at the Old Smithy, God's Hill, between 10:30am to 12pm. Everyone welcome.
Second Tuesday of the month, Our Place Community Cafe at West Wight Sports and Community Centre, Mower Place, Freshwater. Our volunteer John will be there with any help or advice. It is open between 10:30am and 12:30pm.
Second Tuesday of the month. Lunch Club is open to all and is held at various locations across the Isle of Wight.
last Friday of the month. Striders are for members who enjoy walking. The route is normally around 5 miles, held at various locations across the island and finishing with a pub lunch.
Last Sunday of the month, Golf at Westridge Golf Centre Ride. Members enjoy 45 minutes on the driving range with an instructor available to help the complete novice to those playing regularly.
Exciting news! New groups and activities.
Horse riding at the Island Riding Centre, Staplers Road, Newport, PO30 2NB. Monday the 21st of March at 10:30am to 11:30am. Half-hour riding and half-hour grooming and meeting the horses. Only £15.
Fishing. We are very fortunate to have some willing volunteers to take a limited number of members fishing. Hopefully this will be in April, but details will follow shortly.
Rowing in Yarmouth on a gig manned by 4 rowers and a cox. 1 oar each. Often rowing from the bridge up to the bridge at the start of Afton Marsh. Really sheltered.
10-pin bowling at Ride Super Bowl on the 4th Wednesday of the month between 2pm and 3pm. The cost is £4 for one game. We have volunteers to help with the scoring and general assistance with the bowling, which is great news.
Millbrook Milers. Monthly social walk for members who are unable to join Striders but still love to walk. This new group will be for anyone who can walk at least 1 mile and will meet between April and October on the second Friday of the month at 10:30am.
Indoor short mat bowling at the Isle of Wight Indoor Bowls Club Ride, offering a taster session to members and volunteers. Time and date to be confirmed.
Save the date to watch The Lion King at the Mayflower, Southampton on the 20th of September to include a touch tour. More details to follow. This is an evening performance.
Tips from members. I bought a talking colour detector, which is a handheld device that can help me identify colours around me. I switch it on, then point it to an object I want to know the colour of, and it will speak and let me know the colour. This helps me know what colour clothes I am wearing every day. Cannot believe I did not know this existed. Sandra from Ride. I struggle to see the numbers on my landline phone, which makes it difficult to type the numbers in to call my friends. I got a large buttoned phone where the numbers are much bigger, which is better for me to see. Ron from Yaverland. I have bought a side tray that attaches to the side of my chopping board. When I have finished chopping up the carrots, I can slide the food into the side tray, and then the side tray can be detached from the board to put into my bowl. This makes cooking a lot easier for me. Andrea from Freshwater.
Hello everyone, I'm Steve and I've been volunteering with Sight for Wight as a reader and as a recorder with the Talking News since 2016. I'm originally from Glasgow in Scotland. I moved to the island in 2007 after a short spell living in Lymington and working at the BBC office in Southampton. As Talking News listeners will be only too aware, even after 15 years down here, I still haven't quite got the hang of the Isle of Wight accent, with my Glasgow twang still very much in evidence. I live in Cowes with my partner Claire and our dog Ollie, who's a Segugio Italiano. In a previous life he was a hunting dog in Cyprus, before we adopted him via a rescue charity just over a year ago. He's settled in pretty well, although he won't put his nose over the door if there's a drop of rain in the air, so he clearly still has some acclimatising to do. My day job is in a related field to my efforts for the Talking News. I work in what is known as access services, rendering television accessible to people with hearing impairments via subtitles and vision impairments via audio description. The company I work for, Red Bee Media, produces audio description for most British terrestrial TV channels, which may have helped you to enjoy your favourite TV programmes by describing what is portrayed on screen in the spaces in between the dialogue. The part of my job that I enjoy most is live subtitling. That is, producing subtitles for things which are unfolding in real time. News bulletins, live sports commentaries, and the BBC Parliament channel and news channel. We do this using voice recognition software and a technique called re-speaking. This involves listening to the dialogue of a TV broadcast, repeating it into a microphone, inserting punctuation, as you might have done when dictating a letter to your secretary, whilst editing out any faltering, stuttering or repetition. We also have to watch for any bloopers that the voice recognition software gets wrong and issue a correction if there's time to do so. This creates a stream of text that other software turns into the subtitles you see on your TV. So please, spare a thought for your hard-pressed subtitler if the subtitles are slightly delayed. There's a lot going on to get them on the screen at any given moment. Subtitles for pre-recorded shows like EastEnders are prepared in advance, which is why they are more accurate and do not suffer from delays. When I'm not busy doing all of that, I'm at my happiest walking the dog or racking up the miles between pub and cafe stops on our beautiful island on my bike. As well as numerous cycling holidays over the years, I've also done a couple of long charity bike rides from my native Scotland. One which took me back home to the Isle of Wight, and another which saw me roll on as far as Lisbon.
Moorfield's new app read by Lisa. Working with UCL, University College London, and Loft Digital, Moorfield Eye Hospital have released a new app which aims to allow patients access to all their records, share them, and engage with people with similar eye conditions. It will allow patients to access their own eye history from every source in an accessible and informative way. It provides the chance to ask questions to multiple sources and provides a platform for answers in a safe and compliant manner. It further provides all data at all levels of treatment centre, giving knowledge to all levels of eye care. Finally, it provides pooled data on patients who have consented for research purposes, especially for rare conditions. Whilst it is in its early stages, currently with some hospitals not offering electronic history yet, meaning some data will need to be uploaded by the patient, the future is moving towards electronic sharing, and therefore this platform provides a unique starting point. Thank you, Lisa.
Update from Abby. You will find me in and around Millbrook House Monday to Friday, supporting Lisa with quality and management, but equally importantly as the person seeking out member feedback. I am here to make sure we both hear from you and listen to you. With the government's announcement that all restrictions will be lifted at the end of February, we are delighted to be able to restart our Members Forum group. We are remaining flexible when we meet, as we want to ensure those who want to join are able to. We meet 4 to 6 times a year as a group to offer any members the chance to shape the services, activities and support offered by Sight for Wight. To join, please call 5222 05 or email 2020vision@iwsb.org.uk.
Volunteers update. With so many activities started and new ones planned, I wanted to thank the volunteers who have already come forward to help and indeed welcome our 5 new volunteers to the team. Without our volunteers, we would not be able to hold these activities for our members, and I would like to thank you all for your time and commitment. We are still actively looking for car drivers, so please remember, if you can give an hour a week, a fortnight or even a month, I would love to hear from you. Susan.
Member Spotlight, Charles Axford. Born in an air raid shelter a year after the Blitz in North London, it must have been a target area judging by the number of bombed out houses around my streets. We were never hit and life somehow went on. From the age of about 10, I was plagued with headaches, which lost me a couple of years of schooling. Various doctors followed and I was sent for convalescence in Ventnor, returning 18 months later, a different lad, able to stand on my feet at last and face the world with some confidence. At 15, I started work, but learned to hate the noise and dirt of local light industry work, so moved on to an apprentice toolmaker. My day release, however, was envied as a day off by others, so I learned very little. My main interest has always and remains in music, and I managed to get a job as an export clerk, shipping music publication throughout the world. What a fascinating job that turned out to be. I eventually was offered a job for an offshoot of the American publishers Charles Hanson, and I worked my way to travelling to the Leipzig Fair in 1966, the year we beat Germany in the World Cup. However, the Americans had big visions of expanding into Europe and sent some of their big guns to show us how to do it US style. However, this proved to be disastrous, and they were generally not welcomed by our valued customers. I got fed up with this, and one day I saw a post office van with an advert on the side. You'd be better off as a postman. I took this literally and joined them and had my first walk down Bond Street. Offered to return to Hanson Publications, which I did. However, time went on and it became increasingly insecure, and with a growing family, I needed more security, so retrained and joined the Cabinet Office and worked my way up to joining the Whip's office in the House of Commons. This was the time of the miners' strike. It was an electrifying experience to see these people who one only usually sees on TV. During all these years, I was working with just one working eye, the other, a lazy eye, with no improvements, despite 32 years with Moorfields. I was lucky inasmuch as my life experiences had not been affected, but the day came after an eye test that my field of vision was discovered to be lacking, and I was diagnosed as having AMD, age-related macular degeneration, the dry version which is not effectively treated at the present time, although much experimentation is progressing with stem cell research. I had to relinquish my organist duties about 10 years ago, as I now can't read the music. But the good news is that I have found tremendous support with my many friends, staff and volunteers at Sight for Wight. I am blessed with the wonderful Striders, accompanied walks, once a month, and the warm and humorous coffee mornings we have on Wednesdays. Meeting people with similar needs and experiences, one is able to collect much advice and funny stories around the table. Finally, the ear of some people from St Mary's and vision technicians for advice and education throughout the year. There are many other social activities available to you through Sight for Wight, so please come and join us for a good laugh and learning experience. Thank you.
Befriending newsletter article for February-March 2022. As you read this, I will hopefully be sunning myself on a beautiful beach in Mexico. My holiday has been planned and booked for 2 years and has changed dates 3 times due to COVID-19, so I am beyond excited that it's actually going to happen. We are looking forward to an all-inclusive luxury holiday, 2 weeks of gourmet food in a choice of 10 restaurants, white sand, blue sea, snorkeling, swimming, and generally totally relaxing. We all need time to recharge our batteries, so don't let your sight loss prevent you from taking and enjoying a holiday. You may not want to do long haul like I am doing, but there are lots of different types of holidays to choose from and a number of services and organisations who can help find the right holiday for you. RNIB have lots of information to help you, and ABDA travel agents can give you lots of information on holidays that are specialist and accessible. A number of hotels cater specifically for blind and partially sighted people. A specialist hotel has staff specifically trained to offer support such as colour contrasting services, talking lifts, tactile signs, talking menus, and useful products such as liquid level indicators and talking alarm clocks. Other hotels and guest houses should make reasonable adjustments to accommodate you and be willing to offer auxiliary aids to make your stay more comfortable. For example, if you can't read the menu, they could enlarge it or read it out to you. Everybody needs a holiday from time to time, a change of air, a different environment, and a chance to meet new people, or simply taking time for yourself can really lift your spirits. Thank you. Elaine Bricknell, Befriending Manager.
Member Support Update. I am now very settled into Sight for Wight, offering help on a one-to-one basis to anyone who needs it. Examples of things that I have helped with are blue badge applications, including ones where additional evidence has been needed, finding a reliable cleaner and tradesman, applying for companion cards for bus passes, installing Alexa devices which we offer on long-term loan to anyone who needs them, including an out-of-the-box internet connection, finding a removal company, providing door-to-door transport for Sight for Wight, walking routes to gain confidence, being a telephone befriender as part of Elaine's befriending scheme, and researching new internet provider to get a better, more reliable internet connection. So please, if you need any help on a one-to-one basis, please do not hesitate to call the office and I will do all that I can to find you the right help. Karen.
Education update. The education programme has some upcoming dates booked in for March and April. Benbridge Primary have booked for their whole school to be a part of the programme. Also, Summerfield Primary wants us to return to their school to deliver a session to their new Year 4 class. Dates are also being booked with Bryston Primary and Ryde with Upper Chine Primary for their whole school, and a session is being booked with Shelfleet Primary with their Year 5 class. Thank you to volunteers who continue to support me with coming to the schools to help deliver the programme. I really appreciate the time you give to help me. If there are any volunteers who are interested in the education programme and would like to volunteer, please feel free to call the office to have a chat with me to find out more. I am more than happy to work around you and the time you are able to give. Please remember our Hats and Sunglasses Day being promoted in schools to help share the importance of wearing hats and sunglasses to help protect your eyes from the harmful UV rays. The Hats and Sunglasses Day is on Tuesday the 21st of June. I am pleased to say the number of schools joining in is increasing, and Lisa, our CEO, is determined to unite the whole Isle of Wight in this, so please spread the word. Jasmine Edwards. Hats and Sunglasses Day poster by Sight for Wight on Tuesday 21st of June 2022. 48% of sight loss is avoidable. Here at Sight for Wight, we want to protect our Isle of Wight children and reduce the risk. We can keep our eyes healthy from UV rays by wearing sunglasses and hats when outside in the sunshine. £1 donation. If parents/carers are happy to tag us in on your Facebook photos, we'd love to see everyone who is taking part in this day. All proceeds will go straight to Sight for Wight, the Isle of Wight charity that supports people and their families who are affected by sight loss.
Hello, my name is Christina Conroy and I am one of the trustees. Being involved in Sight for Wight as a trustee, walker and vice chair means so much to me, and I'm so proud of how the charity is progressing as we go forward. I joined Sight for Wight over 3 years ago as a volunteer sighted guide in the Striders group. The group meets monthly and organises longer walks for members of around 5 miles and ends with a pub lunch. I was really impressed by the services offered to visually impaired members and wanted to get more involved with the long-term strategy of the charity and was invited to become a trustee. My motivation to get involved was seeing the challenge that my mother faced with macular degeneration. She had been a community midwife, and when she retired, she looked forward to an active retirement, but the degeneration of her sight and the loss of mobility impacted on her independence. She was very fortunate to be cared for in the National Home for Nurses in Bournemouth, enjoying being part of a professional community that supported her actively in engaging in activities. My background is in education. I trained in social science research and started teaching in evening classes in further education when my 3 children were small. I was very nervous and can remember one of my first teaching sessions, which was GCE A-level psychology. One of the students asked me, "What is the difference between psychotic and neurotic?" My mind went blank, and all I could think to say was, "From where I'm standing, not a lot." Fortunately, my teaching career improved after that, and I became a full-time college manager in colleges in Essex, Hertfordshire and London. My last job was as college principal in one of the largest adult education colleges in the country, Richmond Adult Community College. I was responsible for 600 staff and 14,000 students, mainly part-time adults studying alongside work and home commitments. I was so proud when we were awarded an outstanding rating by Ofsted. After 12 years, I took early retirement and started my own online teaching company, training educators on how to use new technologies. After 7 years and lots of interesting national projects, I sold up and now focus on my family, hobbies and activities on the Isle of Wight. My husband Colin and I moved here in 2014 and we just love the island. We love walking, gardening, kayaking and swimming. In 2009, my sister and I undertook the 3 Peaks Challenge, and in 2021 we completed the set by walking up Slieve Donard, the highest peak in Northern Ireland. I have 3 lovely grown-up children and 4 grandsons who regularly visit us during the summer holidays. My next challenge is to swim the Solent in 2022.
Dressing your hourglass body shape. The hourglass body is seen as the most feminine out of all the body shapes, and it's the most in proportion, with the shoulders and hips at the same width, and usually a waist that has a gentle curve in the middle. Characteristics of an hourglass figure are slightly rounded shoulders, bust and hips are the same width, small and defined waist, bottoms and hips are rounded, bigger thighs. Your aim when dressing your hourglass-shaped body. The aim of dressing for your body shape is to follow its natural silhouette by proportionally dressing the top and bottom of the body while accentuating the waist. You need to make sure that you don't unbalance your body by making either top or bottom heavy. Which garments are good for the hourglass-shaped body? When choosing jeans or trousers, bootcut and flared styles will look great as they will complement your curves. High-waist trousers and jeans are best as they show off your waist. A pencil skirt is a good shape as it will go in and out with your curves. Necklines. Necklines must not unbalance the natural silhouette of the hourglass body by either visually widening the shoulder line or adding unnecessarily volume to it. Example, embellishments. Slightly rounded styles are great, such as oval, deep oval, rounded or dual necklines, because they are not extremely wide or narrow. They don't draw any attention to them. Lower and wider necklines, such as a scoop or a sweetheart neckline, will show off your bust. V-necks are also good as they draw the eye towards a defined midsection. Best dresses? Dresses for the hourglass body shape should draw the focus to the waist without adding extra volume to the bust. Nipped and belted dresses are excellent. Wrap dresses are great too as they create a nice silhouette, accentuate the waist and tailor your midriff without making it look boxy. You should opt for voluminous skirts on dresses such as a full circle or a tulip skirt as they make the waist appear even smaller, but make sure they are a simple style. The hemline should be no shorter than knee length. Avoid dresses with straight lines or boxy cuts since they cover your curves and make you appear heavy, and steer clear of embellishments or pockets in either of the hip or shoulder area. Accessories. If you have an hourglass figure, you have a defined waist. Embrace it. Wear a belt that shows off your waist and emphasises your curves, giving definition to your shape. It doesn't need to be a statement belt, it can just blend in with your outfit. Coats and jackets. Jackets and coats should be form-fitted and tailored to follow the hourglass body shape natural silhouette. Styles that achieve these are trench coats, long coachman coats and also A-line coats. To keep the silhouette uncluttered, keep coats and jackets simple without too many details or embellishments which can make you look unbalanced. If you opt for a coat with embellishments around the bust, make sure you earn the same amount of volume around the hips. Jackets should follow the natural body line and draw in towards the waist. Form-fitting and belted jackets are great. Single-breasted jackets are best since they don't add extra bulk as double-breasted jackets do. Next time, I'll be sharing ideas for the straight body shape. At Dress for Less, we are now taking in spring items, a great time to revamp your wardrobe. We hope that you will come in and see us. Take care, Debbie.
Travelling. This article is all about how to get around the island when you are living with sight loss, and how to get on and off it too. Blue Badge Basics. A blue badge entitles you to free parking in accessible locations, such as close to shops, but could also mean you get discounted travel on and off the Isle of Wight. Let's first look at how to get a blue badge. Eligibility. You are automatically eligible to apply for a blue badge without further assessment if you get the higher rate mobility component of DLA, get PIP, Personal Independence Payment, and scored 8 points or more in the moving around area of your assessment, get War Pensioners Mobility Supplement, received a lump sum payment as part of the Armed Forces Compensation Scheme, Tariff 1 to 8, and have been certified as having a permanent and substantial disability. If you are partially sighted and do not receive any of the above benefits, but have another long-term medical condition affecting mobility, you may also be eligible for a blue badge. You will need to fill in an extra part of the application to show why you need one. A blue badge costs £10 on the Isle of Wight and lasts 3 years. Our Member Support Officer, Karen, is on hand to provide help to complete applications for blue badges. Please do contact us here at Sight for Wight for support with this. As a blue badge holder, I am happy to say you do not have to pay the London congestion charge, and there are several schemes up and down the country which allow you to apply for toll and crossing charge exemptions. However, these would need to be arranged well in advance, as each asks for different documents in which to provide proof of eligibility. Southern Vectis, Island Line Railway. If you are registerable as severely sight impaired or partially sighted, you can apply for an English National Concessionary Bus Pass, ENCB, issued on the grounds of a disability. It allows free travel at any time on any day of the week for the Island Line Railway and local public bus services. The ENCB pass lasts for 4 years and is free to apply for. You can contact us or the sensory team to help you apply. Further, if you need a companion to travel with you, you can apply for a companion card by calling the Isle of Wight Concessionary Fare Helpline on 823 780. Or again, we can help with this. These cards are valid for the period of your bus pass. Your ENCB can be used anywhere in England in off-peak time, that is after 9:30 a.m, and it is recognised by other organisations as proof of your disability, including Whitelink, and can also be used in most occasions as proof of identity, like a driving licence. The Southern Vectis website is equipped with Recite Me technology to help VI people navigate the bus timetable. Click Recite Me at the bottom of any web page to find out more. Many of the buses are fitted with next stop announcement technology, helping you keep track of where you are on your journey. But if not, the drivers are trained to offer assistance on when to exit the bus. You just need to ask. All buses are low floor and easy access. Helping Hand Scheme. The Helping Hand card holds a brief written instruction for staff to be shown upon boarding a bus, boat or getting in a taxi. The driver is made aware of the customer's needs or requirements, without the customer having to say them every time. The card is free and can be requested by calling 01273 886 200. When calling, they can help you with designing your own card. Both Southern Vectis and Wight Link promote the use of these cards as part of working with individuals to provide individualised support. Hover Travel. You can make all bookings by calling free on most landlines 0345 222 0461. Hover Travel offers, as standard, the following for anyone who needs a little extra help, including a ramp for boarding, priority boarding upon request, and large print timetables are available. All Hovercare staff have received guide dog awareness training. Try before you fly with Hover Travel. Hover Travel are welcoming members to their Try Before You Fly events. These events allow you to try out the service for free, decide if this would be a convenient and comfortable way for you to travel, and give feedback to staff on how they can improve their service to become more accessible. The next event is the 5th of May from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m, sailing from Ryde, and from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. sailing from Southsea. There is also an event planned for the 8th of October. To book yourself a place, you can register online at hovertravel.co.uk/T, B, Y, F /. Or, if you need help, please do call us here at Sight for Wight. All visitors will be issued with a Hovercare card and entered into a draw to win free tickets. The Hovercare card is available for use, so customers can receive any extra assistance they may need without even having to ask. It lets staff know about any special requirements you may have for the journey. To apply, take any ID and your NHS number to the terminal. The Hovercare card can show that the holder has reduced mobility, autism, dementia, reduced vision or impaired hearing, that the holder requires help with luggage, they are a lip reader, whether they need help to be seated, if they would like help boarding the hovercraft. Red Funnel. If you want to travel on the Red Funnel car ferry or Red Jet catamaran and need a little extra help, they advise calling at least 48 hours before travel on 02380 019 192. If you need help at the terminals on the day, just ask staff. On the Red Jet catamaran, you can have a companion travel with you free of charge, but you cannot book a ticket in advance. It is strictly a turn-up and go service. Wight Link. Again, if you need a little extra help, phone 48 hours prior to sailing by calling 0800 093 8236. If you have a blue badge, ENCB card or disabled persons rail card, you can benefit from money off your ferry crossing with us. This discount can only be given at the time of booking. Blue badge holders can get 25% off foot passenger prices, 20% off standard vehicle tickets, 15% off economy vehicle tickets. ENCB card and disabled persons rail card holders can get 25% off foot passenger prices. Finally, Wight Link usually charge a premium to book by telephone rather than online, but they will waive this fee if you confirm at the time of booking that you are using the telephone service because you are visually impaired. Abby Froud.
Welcome to Terry's 20 teasers for February 2022. It's all the 20s here. The first 5 questions are: where am I? Where in the world am I? Number 1, I'm standing on Capitol Hill. Where am I? Number 2, I'm walking across the longest suspension bridge in England. Where am I? Number 3, I'm sitting in the Grand Ole Opry. Where am I? Number 4, I'm swimming in and around a famous coral reef off the east coast of Australia. Where am I? Number 5, I'm having coffee in the town where William Shakespeare lived. Where am I? Okay, the next 5 questions are to do with the island in some way or other. Number 6, which king was held captive in Carisbrooke Castle? Number 7, in which village can you see just one platform of the old railway? Number 8, where is Darts Lane? D-A-R-T-S, Darts Lane. Number 9, when did the railway line between Shanklin and Ventnor close? Number 10, where does the ceremony of well-dressing take place? Okay, the next 5 questions are involved in some way or other with music. Number 11, who first sang about a girl who was only 16? Number 12, in which section of an orchestra will you find a flute player? Number 13, how old is Ed Sheeran? Number 14, when did the Beatles disband? Number 15, who wrote The Maple Leaf Rag? And the last 5 questions are odds and ends. Number 16, approximately how many millimetres are there in an inch? Number 17, bit of maths coming up. If one tap takes 15 minutes to fill one bath, how long will it take 3 taps to fill 6 baths? Shall I repeat that one? If one tap takes 15 minutes to fill one bath, how long will it take 3 taps to fill 6 baths? Number 18, another vaguely mathematical one. There's a series of numbers: 3, 6, 12, 21, 33, and what comes next? And what comes next? So I've asked you for 2 numbers that follow those. They were 3, 6, 12, 21, 33, and then what, and then what? Number 19, 2 American states have 3 lots of double letters in their names. Which states are they? And number 20, what do cows drink? Right, see how you got on with those. And now the answers to Terry's 20 teasers for February. Where in the world am I? Capitol Hill is in Washington, D.C. in America. The longest suspension bridge in England, number 2, is the Humber Bridge. Used to be the longest one in the world, but I believe it's no longer so. Number 3, Grand Ole Opry is in Nashville, Tennessee. Number 4, the reef I'm swimming around on the east coast of Australia is the Great Barrier Reef. And number 5, having coffee in Shakespeare's town, Stratford upon Avon, in Warwickshire. That bit doesn't matter, but it is Warwickshire. The island. Number 6, the king held captive at Carisbrooke Castle was Charles I. And where can you see just one platform of the old railway? Merston. Number 8, Darts Lane is in Bembridge. Number 9, the railway line between Shanklin and Ventnor closed in 1966. It was actually April. It was Dr. Beeching's doing, as so many closures were. And number 10, the well dressing takes place at Whitwell. Now, 5 music questions. The person who first sang about a girl who was only 16 was our own Craig Douglas. Lots of other people did record it, but his was the first recording. Number 12, a flute player is in the woodwind section of an orchestra, even though they're often made of metal, but they are still classed as a woodwind instrument. Ed Sheeran is 31. His birthday was actually on the 17th of February. When did the Beatles disband? 1970. And number 15, The Maple Leaf Rag, was written by Scott Joplin. And the last 5 questions, odds and ends. There are approximately 25 millimetres in an inch. If you had 26, that's fair enough, because it's somewhere between the two. I think it's 25.4, but don't quote me on that. If one tap takes 15 minutes to fill 1 bath, 3 taps would fill 3 baths in 15 minutes, so filling 6 baths would take twice as long. The answer is 30 minutes. Now that series 3, 6, 12, 21 and 23, the next 2 numbers are 48 and 66. The reason is each interval between them is 3 greater than the one before. And the 2 American states that have got 3 lots of double letters in their names are Mississippi and one we had earlier on actually, Tennessee. Mississippi and Tennessee. And the last one, I'm sure most of you got it right, but I've been known to get this wrong in the past. What do cows drink? Water. They give us milk, but they drink water. How did you get on?
Contact us. Site for Wight 01983 522205. Email enquiries@iwsb.org.uk. Address Millbrook House, 137 Carisbrooke Road, Newport, Isle of Wight, PO30 1DD. Website siteforwight.org.uk. We are also on Facebook and Instagram as Site for Wight. Dress for Less. Telephone 01983 523 197. Email retail@iwsb.org.uk. Address 114 St James Street, Newport, Isle of Wight, PO30 5HB. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram as Dress for Less.